Perfect.
All right, who wants to do a live stream? Oh man, devastating. Absolutely, just I Tim. I thought they were gonna wait till next week to kill Baylor Breakspear, but no.
I actually a couple days ago I posted on Twitter where I was saying I wonder if the gross out moment for this episode will be that moment. And I was just kidding. I didn't think they were actually going to show his caved in head, but here we are.
Oh, and Dunk getting stabbed like 18 times. Estella Graves, your thoughts? Welcome to. Thanks for joining me.
My thoughts are I was so excited to share that I thrifted this wonderful Targaryen mug that's on theme, and now I'm so sad to have it. I'm so sad with this episode. I mean, crazy, amazing, just gobsmacked about the episode, but wow, really tragic, very sad.
So we will explain some of the things that were going on in the background to the extent of what we know from the books. I might do try to do a breakdown of what the hell was actually going on back there if I can watch it scene by scene and see if that even can be done. But yeah, we will rely on our ice and fire knowledge to fill in a little bit about the people that died and what else was going on. But wow, like even before the Baylor scene, it was so emotional. The flashback. Dunk got hit so hard he had a whole ass montage, not even a short one. He had a whole montage. And yeah, so let me welcome both of you officially. Marjorie, Tyrell here. Appreciate that. That's a good look. And Tim, you are Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't have a gorget or a helm or armor, but I do have my pickle helmet, so that's what we'll wear today.
It's got some pretty good vibes for sure. And of course, it wasn't Egg that got crushed; it was Dunk. Man, he got beat up. It's a little different than in the books, but either way, he takes an absolute beating before sort of pulling it out at the end. It was more or less the same vibe wise. I think he stayed on his horse a little longer in the books. Is that right, Tim? Wasn't it a couple of passes before he fell off?
Yeah, whereas here they go straight forward almost immediately. He's taking some wooden shrapnel, and we have that moment like, oh god, do I take it out or I leave it in? Do I take it out or do I leave it in?
Yeah, so that is the main. Well, the eye being swollen shut and the lance through the side. Those are the book injuries. They added like 18 more stab wounds. But man, the physical acting. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
When it goes entirely through his hand and he used to pull the whole blade out.
I feel like the ghost of David Dan resurrected to give us a little bit of violence porn and then like keeled over again.
Yeah.
And I see some people pointing out that that's like an eared dagger, and some people are like, is that Daemon's eared dagger that he wears in House of the Dragon? Because they've been focusing on that dagger quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it had any prophecies on there, but it definitely went through Dunk's hand. So that was brutal. Yeah. The physical acting from Peter by the end when he could just barely stand up and stuff, that was pretty. I bought it, I really bought it.
Yeah. And Chad's pointing out, like, did anyone else get Rocky vibes? And that was, my immediate thought when he takes his helm off and we see that swollen eye. I immediately thought of Stallone. Yeah, cut me. But definitely there.
Yeah. Definitely the whole thing about Dunk is like he keeps coming, right? He, relentless. Just in his life and in the battle. And that's kind of his strength. Because Arian's definitely given him the worst of it. You could see Arian's training kick in when they're sword fighting. Arian is easily blocking a lot of Dunk's sort of wild swings and stuff. And then you go back. It was cool to see Sir Arlen's fighting style. But yeah, kind of the drunken monkey there.
But then when he finally does get Arian, and you see where he gets him, the very upper thigh, and it's like, ew, it's like right below the groin, but it's also at the same time it's like it's north of it. If Dunk had been a little further south, he would have severed like a major artery. So he got him in like that absolute sweet spot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, someone in the chat was saying, yeah, he got the dollar a stroke there. It did seem pretty high and tight, that wound, and you can see Makar like my son, who's like, can he still have grandsons? What's going on there? You did sort of feel that, Makar trying to get to his son there. It's interesting, like even when they make you feel something for the people that are like the bad guys, you have that moment where you at least feel their emotions. So that was man. I'm just my heart is still beating so hard, man.
Yeah, it was an incredible episode, just absolutely action packed. And I mean, I thought they did a really good job with the cutaway flashback scene too. I didn't feel like it cut into the action too much. Like it's even the flashback scene felt like go go go, like where it kept the momentum up. So I appreciated that.
Somebody in the chat saying, "Oh, that was for Egg," because remember Arian put a knife in between Egg's legs and threatened to make him a princess. I wonder if that was intentional. Yeah, that one's for Egg.
Mm.
That's cool. Yeah, good catch. Good catch on that one. So let's let's rate the episode. I think this. What do you guys think? And then we'll try to go in order. Man, I feel really emotional right now. I'm trying to collect myself.
Yeah. I'm going for a 9 out of 10, only because it felt short. I know it wasn't, because I even looked at my timeline and saw what time it was. I'm like, no, it went on for more than a half hour, yet at the same time, but it felt like only 15 minutes went by.
Okay, I'm getting some weird energy from Faye Fire here in the chat. Are you here to be nice, or are you here to stir shit up? It feels really 50-50 right now. So I'll just say, make your intentions clear. If you'd like to hang out, that is great. What do you go? What do you go for, Estella? So nine from Tim. You
Yeah,
say
I'm gonna
nine or
go.
9.5.
Oh, I gave it a solid 9.
Okay, go ahead, Stella.
I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna say like a 9.5 to a 10. I thought this episode was exactly what I'm wanting out of the action sequences from this world. I thought it adapted the book in a way that was larger than life and still surprised me. And then the things that were added, the things that were new, again, felt in world but felt pleasant. I mean, it's hard to say that about such a grotesque action sequence, but it was. I just thought it was very well handled. So yeah, I thought this episode was stellar.
I'm gonna say, so I can't give it a 10. It's either 9.5 or like 9 3/4. It's very close to good. I could have done with a little bit more of the jousting action and a little bit less flashback. I didn't have a problem with the flashback. I was into it. Rest in peace, Rafe. Who is the actress that was also on the Dune Prophecy series with all the, what was it called?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the Bene Gesserit show, which I'm halfway through. I just found it the other day. I was looking for something to watch. Yeah, same actress. Yeah, I would have liked to see just a little bit more of the jousting. But other than that, yeah, 9.5, 9 3/4, pretty incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
I was, anytime the story and you're still feeling it that much, I think that's a smashing success. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I guess that's preventing me from giving it higher is the flashback, though, didn't make me a bit confused, though, on what kind of timeline they're playing with, because they're making it seem as if the Blackfire Rebellion was a lot more recent, like in that scene when they're pawning off the stuff and the guy says, take your Blackfire leather elsewhere, because the Blackfire Rebellion is supposed to have ended 15 years ago, so it raises the question of why would someone still be carrying Blackfire leather so recently, unless they're trying to say that there are still rumblings going on. But the only way that, for me, it's like, are they moving up the rebellion to a more recent event, or did they age Dunk up? Because when Dunk's introduced, he's 18, 19 years old, so 15 years out, he only would have been 3, 4 years old when Redgrass Field happened. So seems like some timeline shenanigans to me, hoping to get more of a clearer answer on that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because, of course, Peter Claffey's like, what, 29 or something? So maybe it's the idea is that the whole timeline is aged up. Like Dunk isn't 18 here at the turn,
Yeah,
maybe he's 25.
Because if they make him 25, then that makes sense that he'd be like 12, 13 years old the way he was in the flashback.
Which is, I think, probably what they're going for. But that's just for us nerds. I mean, I think that was supposed to be Redgrass Field, yeah. And that's why he's got the black fire leather, and that's why, because they were saying Rafe's like, oh, it was Dunk saying to Rafe, oh, it's over now, it's over, and then of course she makes the very thematic point, be like, no, remember that one time that somebody accidentally killed so and so, and then a month later he came back and burned half of Flea Bottom down, like. That's definitely the Elia Martell speech. When does it end? How many revenge cycles do we need to go through before somebody stops it? Hashtag storytelling. Exactly. That was good. So let's go for the flashback first, since that was basically the beginning of the episode. We got the first pass, Dunk gets knocked out, and then we get this 20-minute flashback. So let's dive into that. And then we'll come back for the beating. So yeah, what do we think of Rafe? I thought the actress was good. I thought the young Dunk actor was pretty good. She actually gets more to work with here than in the Dune series. Almost, I thought she was a very emotional character, very feral. The Dunk and her are both feral in sort of different ways. But man, are they dirty? They were so dirty.
Yeah. I actually had to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go first. It's fine.
Okay. I actually had a quick Google Rafe because I was like, is this a show-only character? But no, Rafe is mentioned in the Dunk and Egg series. It's just not, we're getting her a lot earlier. She's not mentioned until the Mystery Night.
Subscribe to Grey Waste Tim for Rafe Explained video this week. Go ahead.
It's not a spoiler to say. It's just in the Mystery Night, Dunk sees a head on a spike, which is not out of the ordinary for King's Landing. And it's in that moment is when he reflects on his time in King's Landing when he was a street urchin running around with another gang of street urchins, his friends Ferret, Pudding, and Rafe, who all were mentioned when he talks about that guy Cedric coming back to King's Landing and burning half of Flea Bottom. He says Ferret and Pudding got caught up with that. So. And basically the reflection, what he's thinking is that if he had continued, if it weren't for Sir Arlen, if he had continued down the path he was going down of petty street crime, like he would have been just another head on a spike meant to be a warning to others. Like it's more a reflection of just how much Sir Arlen taking him in turned his life around. So here it's like we're getting that reflection that doesn't happen till the Mystery Night. We're getting this a lot earlier.
That's so interesting because, to me, I didn't register Rafe as being that character. But so one of Dunk's three friends. Remind me when we come back to, like, spoiler talk later in the stream to bring this up again. Because I know there are some theories about, like, what happens to Dunk's three friends that are kind of going down the wrong path. And so it's like seeing this character being kind of rewritten as a different character. It's like, oh, that kind of indicates that maybe that's not necessarily what's going to happen in the show. If you know what I'm alluding to, we'll talk about it later. But I'm like, oh, we will have so interesting.
We'll have a right proper spoilers section for sure, and we'll talk about the leak during the week and all that stuff. Someone in the chat had a good comment here. Dunk's leg wound is similar to Arlen's fatal arm wound. Just sort of rub some dirt on it, Johnny, and keep going. You do see a few things that Dunk picked up from Arlen here. The wild fighting style. But also, what was it? What language was Arlen singing in? Was that like...
That was a great question. I was hoping one of you would know.
I thought it was just drunken rambling.
And so people are saying it was Dothraki. The chat is lighting up. It's the only language that's been fully developed, so I guess that does make it... Okay, it's in the subtitles. All right.
I need to watch with closed captioning.
Interesting, okay.
And this reminds... Watching the chat go crazy here. I'm sorry, chat. Why don't you tell me what you thought? Give me the ratings. Rate the episode. 1 out of 10 in the chat, and I'll just to see what you guys are thinking there. So,
I know, usually I watch with captions, but this was the one time that I didn't. And of course we get some Dothraki singing in this episode. That's so crazy.
And for those of you
It's
who
great to see
aren't,
everyone likes it.
yeah, well, for those of you who are less than a 9, like tell me what was it that you wanted to see that you didn't get out of this one? Because this is pretty much like this is definitely the climax of this. Not enough jousting.
Yeah. 4 out of 10. What the?
Hated it. A little long on flashback. Let's see.
I don't know how many of you are serious and how many of you are just rage baiting.
Yeah, wanted to see what happened with the Fossaways. Not enough Laughing Storm. That's kind of the stuff I was saying when I was like, a little more
Yeah.
jousting would have been good. Like, we saw Raymond was alive at the end, but did he give it to Stefan? Like, I needed to see him like hit Stefan in the face at least once. Maybe it was in there, but I missed it. Yeah, okay. Too much flashback. Not enough fighting. Couldn't see the other people. Okay, mostly the same stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I figured it was going to be like people wanted to see Raymond Fossaway coming back with his green apple shield and saying, better not to be ripe than to be rotten.
I'm sure they'll give us some closure on all that stuff. We've got a whole episode next week for closure, so we'll see whatever happened to Sir Stefan. So yeah, Tim, jog my memory. What did happen to Stefan in the books with the Stefan and Raymond fighting?
I think it just.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, Stefan. I'm gonna have to look, now. I'm gonna have to hit the wiki because I actually don't know. I think Stefan kind of gets lost in the sauce when the whole battle gets up. I don't think he even does much.
Erica says he gets his rocked. I think he lives. Raymond breaks some of his ribs. That's what I remember, is that he injured him but didn't kill him. And then Harding, the one with the broken leg, he did die. Yeah, that's the same as in the books. And then Beesbury with the yellow mustache, we barely knew ye.
I know.
One line. Got one line.
Yeah, we got him, and then the Beesbury from the Green Council. You know, he got the short end of the stick too. So we need a victorious Beesbury somewhere here. Redeemed.
Well, I was gonna say too, and the Beesbury that fought during Magor's like trial also died, I think, pretty quickly. So the Beesburys just don't have a good historical record of surviving when they're around the Targs, it feels like.
Yeah, and that's really sad because, of course, in the books, the two Humphreys, they break, what was it, like 8 lances or something against each other, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it also was mentioned that they're brothers-in-law, too. So we don't know how, but it means that one of the Humphreys married the other Humphrey's sister. So that's another thing that didn't get brought up.
I learned that on Estella's video. That's right. It's all coming back to me now. And Tim, what was the name of your last video on your channel? It was hilarious. I really enjoyed it.
So my last video was season 4 and beyond for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But so the title isn't really funny, but there is a lot of humor. It was a very lighthearted video.
No, it's you, Tim. You're funny. You're the one. So yeah, subscribe to Grey Waste Tim and Estella Graves. The channel links are in the description below. And Estella, do you have any idea what you're going to do this week?
Yeah, I think now that we've seen most of the season, I think I will do a deep dive on the costumes, the armor, the wigs, the makeup, all that, because there are also like a lot of fun props and things. Like I mentioned earlier, that ear dagger, little things that are kind of through lines through the different shows and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my favorite thing, is to always talk about the costume symbolism and things like that. So
well, that'll be useful because this show did a lot of nice subtle work, but it didn't stop to necessarily point at everything. So that'll be cool. And then we got a very generous super chat from El Guapo. I think the emotional beats of the story hit pretty hard in the moment. I think they were at this point going for the moment where the crowd roots for Dunk was inserted towards the end of the fight. Yeah, I will say that, during the week, Ira said, it was in the script, the line about, why Dunk asked Steely Pate, why are they cheering for me? And he's like, well, you're a knight who remembered his vows. And he said, oh, that was in the script. It got cut out accidentally. That was my bad. But I feel like we're still getting that moment. And it did come in this episode when, because at first the sex worker cheered for Dunk and everyone was like, and then finally by the end, he's won the crowd over and they're like, yeah, get up, Rocky.
mm-hmm.
I will say that when we were watching the flashback, you kind of get that feeling that when they start talking about escaping King's Landing, you're like, ah, Rafe's definitely going to die. This feels like a solo story, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
it has that written all
And
over
when
it.
Yeah. She
when
might
she
as well have been
mentioned,
wearing a red shirt. Just,
oh,
you
yeah,
know,
Richard.
it was
Yeah,
it
when
was
she
very
mentioned,
like, oh, okay, so you're not making it out of the next 5 minutes. So
yeah, and when Dunk says like, "What if the free cities are worse?" and I'm like, "Yeah, they are. Unless you're going to Bravos, you could be enslaved." Like, you think King's Landing is bad? At least you're not enslaved. You do technically have freedom.
Yeah, you see, like that was a good line from Dunk because on one hand, it's just his fear of like leaving what he knows and stuff, but he is also making a valid point. Like it can get worse. Yeah, you can be enslaved. It definitely can get worse in the world of Westeros. We've seen that.
And if the map is anything to go on, the further east you go, the worse it gets.
And Girl Nettles, what did you rate this episode? I was looking for your rating, and I think I missed it. I am curious. In case you're wondering where Girl Nettles is, by the way, she'll be back for Hot D season 3. So I haven't seen the last of her. And yeah, that was whew. My heart is still pounding. It really is. It really is. That was very exciting show. 8.5 from Girl Nettles. Tough audience. Tough crowd. Got to earn it. So, all right. Yeah, I feel like you don't think the Baylor scene was gruesome as in the book? So I don't know. It felt pretty gruesome to me. Definitely.
I thought it was pretty nasty. Even though I had read the novella, I was still shocked to see it.
I feel like we have more trolls than usual. I think I've gotten comfortable here. We haven't had trolls for a long time. Me and Tim and Sean have just been like going so deep into symbolism and the nitty gritty that like we don't even register for the trolls. It's TV season though, and
Yeah,
They're
when
everywhere.
you get to the penultimate episode, you get to the season finale. You expect higher traffic, but higher traffic means more assholes.
well, we do appreciate all y'all, and thanks everyone for watching my Why is Danny 1/4 Dane video. We won't talk about it because it's not a Night of Seven Kingdoms, but y'all watched it, so I appreciate that. I've got a big fat what was Bloodraven's life before the wall video coming. I don't know if that'll be this week or next week. Depends on if I want to make a Night of the Seven Kingdoms video this week. But yeah, giant hour-long Bloodraven's life and times before the wall, and I've got some tinfoil about the ghost of Highheart, and then we'll do
I
Danny
was gonna say
Blackwood.
your Danny video did tie into A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, though. You did bring up things. So for people who like Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I would still say go watch it.
Thank you. Yeah, it vague. Yeah, because we're talking about the Dane blood from
Yeah.
Maekar's marriage. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I did do a loose tie-in. And then we got to Dawn is a Glass Candle theory. So that's what we really wanted to talk about. Who was the only
segue
woman that stood
of-
up and cheered for Dunk? That was the sex worker from the redhead, right? That met Dunk at the beginning, and they talked about hedge knights and be careful hedge knight, and compared the two jobs of giving your body up for the pleasure of the highborn and that kind of thing. Yeah.
The only name she's been given is Red, so I guess that's just what we're going with. Her name is Red.
Oh, people
This
want
one's
to
a
hook.
Baylor
No,
didn't
Dunk is in love with
slur.
Tanzel Too Tall.
Yeah.
He's
Someone
got
said
to go
Baylor
to.
didn't slur, but he didn't finish his sentence and he stumbled backwards. Yeah. It was subtle, but I did catch that.
No, he definitely sounded kind of drunk and distant because the
Yeah.
rest of his speaking is all very, very crisp. So yeah, he was kind of like talking slow. Then he talked about his fingers feel wooden.
Yeah, feeling like wood. Yeah.
I think for someone who hadn't read the novella, and let us know in the chat if you were unspoiled and you didn't know what was happening there. How did that hit for you? I think it probably hit pretty hard. Debate the hilters or undo a button.
Someone keeps bringing up our hilts. I don't know. I don't know if that's another YouTube channel or what.
It is another YouTube channel. I'm not sure if I've been challenged to a debate and I'm not aware of it. But
Apparently,
I'm not aware of
apparently
it. So
you've been challenged and other people know about it, but well, that's also coming from someone called Hitler Lover 1488. So probably not.
well, that's
looking into
kind of
it.
weird. Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
1488.
if that's
Yeah.
the fans they're cultivating, then why would you even deign a response?
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Tim. I was taking it overly seriously, I guess.
mm-hmm.
Are you going to talk about? Yes, we will. We're going to see what we're in no spoilers mode. I should have an icon. Let me heart this. Thank you. But we'll give a spoiler warning, and then we'll go into stuff. Anyway, okay. So what else? Let's see. Going back to the flashback scene, I think it was what was touching to me that sort of, because at first I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure if how much do I care about this? I want to get back to the jousting. I think it was an interesting moment when they're saving up the money, or not saving up the money, but they finally go in and sell the horseshoes and they get the coins. And Rafe really quickly slaps her hand down on the counter and grabs some money and dashes out. And for a second I was like, oh, did she just steal from Dunk? Did she just screw Dunk over and dash off? But then you see they're going back and they have a little strong box together that they've been pooling, and it's like, oh man, they really are tight. They really trust each other. That was an interesting story beat for me, because it's you have to have something like that. You have, Dunk is looking for family. He's an orphan. Arlen is the first person that cared for him and stuff. But it did make sense to see oh yeah, Dunk's he found someone else with loyalty and they stuck together for a time. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit. I thought that it did a good job at bringing in more mentionings of Blackfire. I mean, we've gotten that kind of sprinkled throughout the season a little bit, but I think this also did help bring that in a little bit. I overall thought that the flashback sequence was effective in giving us a little bit more characterization for Dunk, for Arlen, for the history of the world. So.
Yeah, because I do like. Oh, sorry. I was saying I do like, Ira Parker seems like someone who recognizes that these books have been out for years. People have read them. There's a lot of people that are deep into the lore. He knows that, I got to throw out some Blackfire information, because that's eventually what Dunk and Egg ultimately leads to. So it makes sense to put that, even though it wasn't originally in the Hedge Knight, that George hadn't come up with the Blackfires when he first wrote Hedge Knight back in 1998. But it makes sense now, almost 30 years later, it having been out for so long, that this has had a long time to marinate. So that's why it makes sense to allude to it now. So that way, when we get to the Sworn Sword, the Blackfires aren't coming out of nowhere for a general TV audience. There's already been hints and buildups and lead-ups to all of this.
Yeah, I think when this season is over and we've processed everything, Egg's various little songs and screeds about the Blackfire Pretenders. I need a supercut of that for sure. It's pretty great stuff. All the Blackfire mentions in this series. Yeah, they are building it up. We're not building up Bloodraven yet, but I guess it's the second one builds up Bloodraven, and then eventually, he starts to come into the story. I think that, thinking about the flashback, we didn't quite see the moment when Arlen accepts Dunk, right? We see him find him. It's cute how Dunk is following him like a lost puppy or whatever. And we see Arlen offer him the water and say, get up. But we didn't see the I will take you on as my squire moment. And I think they're going to save that for next week to juxtapose it over. I guess we'll have, no spoilers, but yeah, they will save that. It'll be a nice counterpoint to what's going on next week. And I do think we'll get a full decompression and a closure on all the fights that we didn't see. So yeah, more flashback next week, because we got to see that. So let's talk about Arlen and his what did he say when he burst into the alley? It was something about
stop attacking that boy or something.
It was some sort of declaration of knightly. What did he say?
It was in the name of the mother. That's the name of the episode. In the name of the mother.
Oh, he said in the name of the mother. Okay, I was.
Leave
it had
that
some.
boy alone. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like Dunk. Stop raping, sir. It's kind of in the name of the mother. Unhand that boy. So yeah, that was a vicious alley fight scene. That was kind of unexpected. Dunk, Arlen's trying to swing the sword, very close quarters. That nasty leg wound that Dunk got.
I was getting So the guy who the gold, I think they were gold cloaks that were attacking them. The ones you saw, like he's what he said, like I used to have quick hands. Missing. He's missing a hand. He had a nub. But I was definitely getting like huge Carl Tanner energy from him. If you remember the show only character Carl Tanner from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
just
can see
seems like
that.
an absolutely scummy person in every sense. Yeah, the corrupt gold
Mm-hmm.
cloak stealing money from the urchins. But yeah, I loved the drunken swordsman. And of course, the reason why Arlen is drinking so heavily right then, he has just lost his nephew and his squire. It was Roger, right, Tim? Is that it?
Yeah, Roger Pennytree died at Redgrass Field.
So he's deep in grief. He's not just drinking because well, I mean, he probably has a habit, but he is definitely drowning his grief at that time. And that's probably plays into the sort of way he recklessly charges into the alley and he fights and then he walks away and doesn't even really talk to Dunk at all. He just like was itching to get in a fight and saw some, some shitty gold cloaks and just charged out and yeah.
Yeah, he was probably in the middle in his cups. He's just like, I just need someone to give me a reason. Then he goes to the door. I found my reason.
Yeah, and of course it's we know that Dunk learned something from Arlen, right? Dunk has this virtue, and he learned it from Arlen. He said, Arlen taught me to be a good knight and a good man and all this and that. So it was important to see some of that. Like, Arlen's not just a drunk guy who cuffs Dunk about the ear. Like, no, he charged out and defended the weak. So,
Yeah. And that's why I think it's important that even though Egg's screaming for Dunk, it's that second get up in his vision of Sir Arlen that really gets him to get back up on his feet. Because it's not just a get up in the literal sense. It really is a get up. There's so much more to you. You can be so much better. There's greatness in you in the making. Like that, those two simple words actually have a lot going behind them.
yeah, yeah. I think we keyed in on it in some past streams, just talking about Dunk's fighting style and how he keeps coming, and it's the relentlessness of his idealism and his honor too. Like he just won't give in, stubborn. And he is terrifying. That's a good comment here from Lunar. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm really bad at reading the names when they run together. Thank you. Your comment said, thanks for the stream. Really enjoyed the clash between Dunk and Arion. And the moment you can see Dunk absolutely club him over the head, you can see how terrified he is of Dunk. And that's true. Like, Dunk is a giant. It's kind of like Oberyn and Gregor. You got to stay out of his grasp. And you could see that anytime Arion got tangled up with Dunk, like, yeah, he was in danger. Dunk is huge, and he can take, obviously, a lot of damage. And that is his whole trick, is to, like, pull you off the horse, get you in the mud, so he can wrestle you and slug him out. And, yeah, once he was on top and he's wailing him, I was so glad they kept the shield thing. I was really hoping they would. He bashed him with the shield. Go ahead, Estella.
I was gonna say too. I believe the Aryan actor's name's Finn Bennett. I thought his face acting was so wonderful when Dunk does get up and you just see his face just kind of drop, where he's like, he just lowers the visor. I was like, oh, just how wonderfully put, of just like exhausted, tired, annoyed, all conveyed. Also terrified, conveyed all in a few seconds. So.
Yeah, thanks for pinpointing that moment. That was one that I noticed too. It had that feeling of a sports series when a team gets up like 3-1 in a 7-game series and they kind of get comfortable, and then the other team wins a game, and then, oh man, I gotta go. I gotta get on the plane and fly back to the other city and play again. And sometimes you see that team, they can't regain their momentum once they sort of give it away. And so that was the emotion with Arian's, like, oh man, I really wanted to be done with this. But no.
Yeah.
No. Dunk's got that berserker energy and that berserker fury, and it's the first time we see it, and it definitely will not be, slight spoilers, it will not be the last we see Dunk berserker fury.
And again, go check out Greyways Tim's video. He charted out everything what we know about Dunk. And Estella, you made a video about this. You did kind of a similar thing, didn't you? Like, what might the future seasons be?
Yeah, it was like a little short though, so I didn't go super into detail on it. It was like a short and then like an Instagram reel style video. But yeah, I think because Tim, you go into much more detail because yours is like a full fleshed out YouTube
Yeah,
video.
yeah, the Bracken Blackwood pig war.
So okay, we've got, let's see, this show is really effective with the chaos of the fight scenes. Yeah, it was very chaotic. What I'm wondering is if we go back frame by frame, is there enough to see what's going on in the background to tease it out? But I'll have to watch it again. Definitely, we got the when the sound went down, and Dunk is because he's concussed and he can't hear very well or whatever. I have a sub connected to my TV sound system, and so when he was thumping on Arion, like it was a good bassy boom, like you felt it. I was like, damn, that one hurt. So, symbolism question. Naughty. Wait, are you saying that a lance exploding into splinters upon a shield in a melee is some sort of moon meteor metaphor? Oh, it's much worse than that. Dunk imagines his lance as his long wooden finger, and all he's trying to do is touch the dragon on Arion's shield. So Arion's shield is a three-headed dragon in a circle. So that's your moon symbol. Remember, dragons come from the moon. And so this is the same as when the tree reaches up and tries to grab the moon at the Night Fort and in the Wolf's Wood and in a bunch of other scenes, because there is some idea deep in the world building about trees attacking the moon. And so, yeah, Dunk is a tree knight. He's got a long wooden finger, and he reaches out and touches the dragon. And then the thing comes and smacks him on the head as if the dragons have launched, and we knock the dragons off of Arion's crown, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah. Thank you for the super chat, and yes. And then I suppose, yes, the shards of the lance could serve as well. I don't remember the line from the books about that. But anytime you have shards of stuff that break and spray and scatter, it's going to be it's the Storm of Swords symbol. So thanks for distracting me. All right, back to the we're going to get some symbolism coming soon. I'm working on the what was it, the Danny Blackwood script has a ton of symbolism, so it's coming.
That'll be exciting.
Pinocchio finger, that's it. Do appreciate the generous super chats, guys. All right, so where were we? We were talking about Arnold, or Arlen rather. I've never read the books. I don't know the names. Sir Arlen is. What else do we have to say about Sir Arlen? I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered it. I mean, I did like that this kind of, because I know people were like, oh, the way that they portrayed Arlen, he seems kind of like he was a jerk or a bad knight. And I think that I didn't feel that way. I thought they were portraying him as a very complex individual. But I think that this sequence did kind of right those wrongs in a way of showing, no, he's a good man.
He's not just
flawed man, but a good man.
Yeah, a one-eyed dragon or whatever. Yeah, I had faith that they would. And the thing is, yeah, Arlen is a hedge knight. And this is the whole thing about... I've seen an adoption PSA commercial where it's like, hey, you don't have to be a perfect parent. Just be a parent. Like, show up. That's pretty good. No parent is perfect, and every parent... Because people probably talk themselves out of it. Be like, oh, I'm not. But, yeah, no. That's the whole thing about Arlen. He's not perfect, but he adopted Dunk. He was there for him. And he taught him the best he could, and that counts. That counts for a lot. So,
but he apparently didn't teach him any Dothraki. Just kidding. Watch as Dunk pulls that out next season.
Yeah, I want to know, how did Arlen learn Dothraki? Where's that coming from?
I'm guessing, Tim. Arlen's pretty old. He's been a wandering hedge knight. Did he go over to Essos and spend some time in a free company? Maybe serve with a Dothraki person and learn the drinking songs, like something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is a Dothraki and the Brave Companions in our main story, but
me and Jay Coop in the chat, exact same thought at the same time. Great minds. Yeah, something like that. Probably fought in the Free Cities. And we even see, there's a Dothraki and Vargo Hotes company.
Yeah,
Yeah, he had a random friendship somewhere. And I'm sure it's probably the only Dothraki he knows is like the drinking songs.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, in the name of the mother, it was pretty great. You were kind of waiting for Arlen to appear in the flashback, and then he just pops out of the alley, drunk as can be, waving the sword. Like, yeah, pretty epic. Definitely was. Claustrophobic episode. Yes, it was. That was running through almost all the scenes. Good call there. I just called the alleyway fight claustrophobic, and that's also how they shot the joust. Yeah.
Yeah, very claustrophobic, and I know we touched on it a little bit before, but the sound throughout the episode, very good use of sound for storytelling.
Yeah, it was. I totally agree with that. And the chat is remarking on the helmet shots. I mean, wow. It is tough to wear a helmet and have your visibility reduced. Like, you have to get used to it. You have to train to get used to it, but just you don't know how much you use your peripheral vision to sort of keep track of where things are. So that tunnel vision is tough. And the more it's a trade, you get more visibility but less safety if you open it. And you see people even debating about that in the story. Go ahead, Estella.
Yeah, I was going to just say what you just said isn't there a line in the novella, I don't think they had it in the show, where Dunk is like, how am I supposed to see out of this? And Steely Pate says something about, like, it would be better to see than to have an arrow come through. That's in the Hedge Knight, right?
Yeah, Girl Nettles says, Steely Pate makes the worst armor. Have you bought armor from Pate? You may be entitled to some compensation. Yeah, somebody else was saying ring mail doesn't really make sense for jousting. You'd want plate for that. That does kind of make sense.
I was going to say, too, I saw someone point out that when Arion shows up to the puppet show, he is wearing ring mail. And so people were like, he went in there looking for a fight when he goes into the puppet show to attack Tanzel. But they were like, but it's also really stupid that he's showing his ring mail, because then people would immediately see that and be like, okay, I'm going to go for the neck or the head first. It's like he thought a couple steps, but not enough steps ahead is what it felt like, which I feel like just summarizes that character in a nutshell.
So yeah, does Sir Arlen singing Dothraki show he was once a sellsword in the Free Cities? Yeah, well that's what we're intuiting. I think that makes the most sense. It could just be any random friendship with a Dothraki that he struck up at some point. More likely to happen in Essos, I would say. And he's like 60, so he's done a lot of things. Didn't Raymond break his cousin's ribs? Yeah, that's what we settled on with our collective memory.
Yeah, well, he says he hopes he broke a couple of his ribs, so we actually don't get confirmation.
Yeah, Valar's armor also, they need to file a warranty claim on that.
We've been trying to reach you about your armor's extended warranty.
But if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Like, most of the point of the armor is protecting the front. If you were to get somebody with a mace on the back of the neck there, that'd probably be hard to stop. You're not going to have a heavy amount of armor there. So just an unfortunate thing. And there was that moment, I forgot it was in the books too, but what's his name? Odin incarnate. What was the one-eyed guy?
Robin
Riesling.
Riesling.
Thank you. Yes, Riesling or Riesling. When Baylor is like, "Oh, I'll take on the Kingsguard because they're not allowed to hurt me," and then he says, "Oh, but is that honorable?" And he's like, "Well, we'll see." So there was that little note of like Baylor's trying a little bit of a dirty trick, and you could read it as, the gods rendering judgment on that. It made more sense because it was coming from Robin Riesling, who is this incarnation of the warrior ethos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it had kind of a haunting thing. It's almost like God saying, "Are you sure about that?"
Yeah,
that is a good point. Yeah,
you're tempting fate.
Yeah, and that's what happened, is because Maekar would have seen what was going on, be like, "Oh, the Kingsguard can't fight back against my brother. I'm going to go hit my brother upside the head." That's exactly how it happened, surely,
there's no rule. There's nothing saying I can't do that, and I am his brother. If anyone's allowed to hit him, it should be me.
And then there was that line they added that wasn't in the books, from Lionel saying, "Oh, nobody fights harder than the brother mom didn't love," or whatever. And that one kind of hit for me, actually. That one did, because Maekar has that Stannis syndrome of, how come the other one gets everything? And like Maekar watching his son get hurt, my son, and he's got a mace in his hand. I wouldn't want to be in between Maekar and Arion at that moment. Hell no.
All that's missing is him being a middle child to fully cement the middle child syndrome.
And I've seen people like debating and saying they're like, does Makar love his children? And I think it's undeniable at this point that yes, he does very much care for his children in his own way, and we definitely see that in this episode. I mean, the lengths that he's willing to go for, and then yeah, that line of my son, and they're having to hold him back. So
and the chat is making the point, also a little bit dishonorable to force the Kingsguard into fighting. Like, those aren't people that took your side. So yeah, that's fair. Honestly, the whole thing is a debacle. Like, this is what I felt when they were just starting and everyone's lining up, and it's just like, man, they just collectively, this was not handled well. This was a small incident that got blown up into a, not that it was insignificant, but like, Arian just should have been punished for being dishonorable, and like somehow it's just spiraled out until you have all these brave, notable personages getting ready to try to kill each other, and you just want to be like, hold on everyone, can't we just talk this out? Like, that's what I wanted to run out on the field and just be like, wait, this is dumb.
Yeah, it's a hot mess, basically. It is just like kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah. And that was Baelor taking Makar off the horse, where Baelor is on the ground and he picks up the lance and knocks his brother off the horse. That was in the season preview way long ago, and I identified that. It did seem that those were who that was. So yeah, there might be some stuff to pick out. I will have to rewatch it and see.
Because it relates back to like things Jamie says. So with the Kingsguard, when royals and lords start fighting one another and the people that get caught in the middle. And that's exactly what the Kingsguard is going through right now. It's like when royals start, and that's also a huge thing in House of the Dragon, obviously, especially when we got Eric and Ark. When the royals start, like, your job is to protect the royals, but it's like, but what do I do when I'm protecting one royal from another? What do I do when the person coming at him with a knife is his own brother? You know? It's like, that makes your job infinitely harder. I signed up to be your bodyguard to protect you from robber knights and assassins, and that's fine because that's part of the job description. But what do you, like what Jamie says, what do you do when the king commands you to kill your own father? It's like that moment. What do I do when the man I'm protecting him from another man I'm supposed to protect?
Right. And so the chat is like, why didn't Baelor just handle it? I think that what it boils down to is if Makar and Baelor had been on the same page, they could have handled it. But because Makar was kind of standing up for Arion, that limited Baelor's ability to just be like, this is what we're doing. Or at least he felt that he did. And so I think that's the problem that we see, is like, because Makar and Baelor aren't on the same page, this tragedy comes about. And also because Makar apparently could have been a better parent, seems like.
And it's interesting because, yeah, Tim, as you were saying, it's like this is kind of a theme that we touch on in the main series and in Fire and Blood, in House of the Dragon. But when it's boiled down to a much smaller scale, skirmish like this, it feels so much more personal. And you would think that it would feel less consequential, but it doesn't. It somehow feels higher stakes almost. That's at least how I felt with it in this, where I was like, wow, this somehow is hitting way harder than, other instances that feel a bit more removed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely some people comparing it, to Ned's death and other very emotional moments in the story. I think of Oberyn's the death that hurts me the most. Your Red Wedding. Definitely one of those moments. George has a knack for creating those.
Yep. Damon's here. Cat's in the chat. I just want to say, last week, whenever I wear black, which is most of the time, Damon blends right in. Whenever I'm waving my hands, if you're new here, I'm petting a cat. A lot of people think I'm playing air guitar, but last week in particular, there were comments saying like, "Is Tim furiously rubbing his nipples?" And nobody's calling him out on it. I'm like, no,
we're so used to, we don't even say anything. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like I'm one of the South Park cable guys, like, ew, I can't get out there until like between 10 and 8. Can you be home all day?
Okay, you stop doing that, Tim. But yes.
At some point, I also have a cat. Her name is Eileen. I'll have to bring her on to show the stream. She only has 3 legs. And that's why her name is Eileen, and people always find that very amusing. So,
I'm missing the joke.
because she leans because there's only 3 legs.
Oh, she's a
So
tripod.
she's a tripod cat. She's a
Oh,
little warrior though. She ate her leg, so we're a little bit scared of her, but we do love her.
she
My
she caught in a trap and like had to bite her own leg to get it
Yeah,
off.
she's kind
Oh,
of metal. She's kind of
oh,
hardcore. So
ooh.
she's pretty crazy, but we love her. She's a sweetie.
my favorite thing is when I see like an animal that's been hurt and they got a little like wheelchair for their hindquarters and they're all racing around super happy. Like that's the best stuff. Anyway, yeah, come on, Eileen, bring her on the stream. Do it.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to bring her on the stream at some point. Maybe next time because that'll be the finale. I'll
Maybe
have her
next
pop
time.
in here.
Can you work it into
So
your cosplay? That's the question. Can you do an Aria with a cat, something or other?
I don't want to spoil what I'm doing for the cosplay, but it will work out actually now that I'm thinking about it. So
Already ahead of you. One step ahead, 2 steps ahead even. That's cool. Cool. And we got a second mini-me tripod joke in this season. That's good. Sir Arlen was the first one, obviously.
Yep,
Like a
yep.
baby's arm holding an apple. All right. So let's see. Tim, what else do we have in this episode that happened?
Yeah, people are talking like about Dunk taking his helmet off, and it's like why he did that. I was like, well, obviously it's filled with mud and blood, but it does like open the stakes up even more. It's like when a football, you think of like a football player when their helmet runs off. It's like this just got infinitely more dangerous right now.
Yeah,
But
he
at the
just
same
couldn't
time,
see
he
anymore, basically.
can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he only had one eye that was working, and he couldn't. One eye through a muddy slit just wasn't happening.
Mm.
Yeah, they really, even his eye injury, like it was like the hilt of the sword that got bashed into the visor, kind of. So, ow, that probably hurts.
yeah,
But there is
yeah. That eye was swollen. The prosthetics were very well done. It looked crazy.
And again, the physical acting from Peter Claffey, like he really looked hurt. Well, I guess he's a rugby player. He knows how to do it. That's what it is. It's the rugby experience.
And there is more of a Rocky vibe when he starts pummeling Arian, because Arian's not like as jacked as Ivan Drago, but he's got like almost the same facial features and the short pale blonde hair. So there is more of a Rocky. Yeah, Dunk beating on Arian does give Rocky and Drago vibes.
I feel like they might have had Peter Claffey watch Rocky before he filmed that. I mean, it was very evocative. Yeah, like I said, those punches were landing with the sub. They really were. That was a scrapper. That was. Yeah, it makes sense. The rugby thing, it's like he is Dunk. And I guess we'll go to the spoiler section here pretty soon. I mean, we pretty much covered the episode. I was going to say, well, before we talk about the actual spoiler, just the footage of that interview they are Dunk and Egg. Like, they literally are Dunk and Egg in the interview, and Peter Claffey's trying to, like, tell him to shut up. Basically, he just sort of like, want me to clout you upside the ear, boy? Like, your insolent mouth, shut it. But let's think here. What else do we have to say before we go to talking about spoilers? I feel like it's kind of early in the stream still.
We didn't get to say much about Egg, but only because he didn't really have a lot to do this episode, unfortunately.
Well, his big moment was he was the one telling Dunk to get up. It's kind of like when somebody's in a trance or something, and like they need that voice calling him back to the real world. That's what Egg was doing. It was like, Sir Duncan, get up. And it just shows like it's the one person that really believes in Dunk, that's invested, not ready to give up on him. So I think that was Egg's moment.
And it does begin the chant, and it's like it becomes the we will rock you moment. And it really is like, you got mud on your face, you big disgrace.
Yeah,
Egg's
and of course, the big
into
moment when he made the hornblower wait. He's like, he batted an eyelash. He might still get up. I'm not quite dead. I really liked his keel over scene where he's just like that was such a good keel over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems kind of funny to compliment someone's acting, like, oh, you did a really good job of looking concussed and senseless, but he really did. He really sold it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the physical acting of it really does make or break a scene. You know, if someone does not feel embodied and in the moment and in the scene, I feel like it can really make things feel hokey or choreographed, you know, overly choreographed. And I thought it all felt very naturalistic.
Right. Dunk doesn't stop and give one-liner action hero lines. Like, he's pretty quiet, honestly. He had that nervous joke with Egg. He couldn't even smile. He was making a joke, but he couldn't even smile. He was so tense. And Egg cracked a smile. That was well done. And then we didn't really hear from him until the very end. I didn't know if they were going to get the dragging Aryan up to the thing, because I was like, oh, he's too beat up to drag him. But they did. They did do it. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
It was, well,
What's
it's
that?
also, it's just like, look at you, this like pampered little princeling just being dragged by his feet in the mud. I was like, it sounds bad, but I was like, yes,
No, no,
yes.
no. It's
I was,
exactly
I
what
was, yes.
it's exactly what was needed, because I mentioned this last week too. It's like sometimes you need to see someone get knocked off their pedestal to remind, also not to remind them that they're human, but to remind you that they're just human and that they aren't invulnerable, because it's something you don't get to see too often and you want to see more often. You want to see the rich and the powerful finally get justice for their wrongdoings. So when it finally does happen, because it's so rare, it's like, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's an overly used word, but it's cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just watching a video about that, and watching someone get comeuppance that, that wronged you hits your brain exactly like sex or drugs. So
I believe it.
yeah.
So yeah, it was it felt like payoff. Yeah, for the
Can
past
you
two
feel the
episodes.
Schadenfreude?
Oh yeah, Egg also got Thunder to move. Dunk had a freeze up moment at the beginning, and he was just standing there, and it was Egg yelling at Thunder, which was set up a couple episodes ago very skillfully. So that was cool. That was a good moment. Thank you. That was a good one. Yeah, Dunk has a little CTE. There's no doubt. Like, if you're a attorney knight, you're gonna have some of that. Yep, Dunk crying over Baylor, definitely. The line that hit me was when Dunk looked up. He's like, "I'm sorry." He was just apologizing to like the world at that moment. It was just like, I caused all this trouble. Baylor is
Yeah.
dead now. He instantly understands, like, this is the greatest consequence out of anything that's happened here, and he just feels terrible. Like, you can really feel that tragedy
And
there.
before, when Baylor comes in too, before that, when Baylor comes in and Dunk drops to one knee and says, "I am your man," he is so earnest in that. He really wants to be like, "I am indebted to you. I will work for you forever."
Yeah. Man.
And then Baylor saying like, "Yeah, the realm needs good men. I need good men." Like, because Baylor's thinking like, "Yeah, I'm crown prince. I'm going to be king. I need people like you if I'm going to continue the good work my father's doing." That's the thought in his mind that is slipping out into the back of his helm.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Girl Nettles is mentioning Tanzel, probably had that survivor's remorse. She had to flee. She didn't know what happened to Dunk. Like, Dunk stood up for her and protected her, and then she had to flee for her own safety.
Yeah.
She didn't know what happened to Dunk, so that she probably was thinking about that, which just means it'll be super awesome when they meet each other down in Dorne in season 4
Yeah.
or whatever.
And it's also because Dunk already has imposter syndrome, thinking that he replaced, because of his role with Sir Arlen, where he thinks, "I only have this because his nephew died, because I'm the replacement for Roger of Pennytree." So now you got survivor's guilt placed on top of imposter syndrome. Dunk is going through it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We talked about that earlier too, but yeah, it did seem like I'm sure they'll talk about it next week, Roger of Pennytree, because they obviously set it up with Dunk picking through the remnants of the red grass field there. That's where Roger died. So hopefully they'll bring that together. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, Tanzel knew that Dunk got saved by, yes, the bald boy, but he's also still arrested, so she ultimately doesn't know what happened there. But he at least did not get stage curb stomped, as we talked about. That is nice. The door. So yeah, in time, the Dornish adventure happens between the first and second book, correct? But obviously George didn't write that yet, so they're going to do the first 3 published novellas first. But they could still give us a season 4 out of order. It might be hard to do with Egg. Or they'll probably just move it in the timeline and say that it happened a couple years later. That's the obvious thing.
That's what I was thinking, because I do hope that we get that, because they're like the little mentionings we get sound like an interesting kind of full fleshed out adventure. So I think they definitely could if they wanted to. But yeah, they might have to move it to in the timeline.
Well, the death of which horse is he burying in Dorne?
Is it Chestnut?
I don't recall.
Because we're getting into like spoilery stuff, I guess.
It's one of the horses.
Are we okay with fully
horse spoilers? No.
Horse spoilers. Horse spoilers.
It was Chestnut.
Yeah, that's okay.
I guess this would be the time to say we're the spoiler warning. We're going into spoiler.
We're exactly 1 hour in, so let's hear ye.
Because horse spoiler, we don't find out what happens to Sweetfoot, and I'm still on this. I keep mentioning this like every live stream.
That's right.
We don't know what happens to Sweetfoot, and then we get Chestnut dying, and I'm so mad. But we get Maester, so I'm looking forward to that. So.
Yeah, I was just to bring up the Dune series again. I was, just binging that yesterday, and there's a scene where a horse has to be put down in one of the episodes, and it teared me up. Like, I don't cry at movies or TV shows, but man, like, you hurt an animal, the horse had the broken leg and they had to euthanize it, and I was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
We didn't really touch on it too. I was gonna say the horse CG that they did in the last episode, I believe, or maybe it was the episode before, when the horse dies in the joust, and seeing the behind the scenes of how they did that. They trained a horse to lay down, and then it just trying to get up made it look like its neck was broken. I thought that was so well done and so interesting, and such a different kind of view at how to treat animals on set. I can't remember what it was called. There was an HBO show that got canceled that was all about horse racing. And it got canceled because horses kept dying on set. They kept accidentally actually killing the horses. And so seeing this and seeing how gentle they were with the horses in the behind the scenes, and very much being like, no horses were hurt on this set, I was very happy with that, because they made it look so real. They did a very good job making these horse scenes, especially in this episode 2, look real. I was like, this is absolutely insane and very upsetting.
I was talking about the new Bene Gesserit series, by the way. That's the one I was talking about. The chat is also speaking up to say at least Danny's silver is still alive. That's right. Barristan was riding the silver in the Battle of Marine. So hopefully, I think that horse is charmed for a little longer. It's got plot armor. Yeah. Who do you think the guy was young Dunk watched die? It was a Frey. Wasn't it a 2 towers?
No, there was a tattered Lannister flag next to him. It was a ripped up red flag with a lion on it with a tear going through it.
But the symbol on his chest, it was a tower. It was I thought it was a high tower at first, but I think there was 2 towers and an arch, which would make him a Frey. But
whoever he was fighting under a Lannister banner.
Okay, yeah, that could be. It could be all tangled up too.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean he was a Lannister, but that is the closest thing in proximity to him.
So Frey. It was definitely a Frey on the breast.
Yeah. And yeah, Chad, if you were holding back on questions you felt were spoiler territory, now it's safe to start asking those.
Yeah. Should we just deal with the Dunk Summerhall thing first to get that out of the way?
Yeah.
You can hear my enthusiasm
and the
for this
stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Estella. Start us off with this.
Oh, so yes, we're talking about the interview clip with Dexter and Peter, correct? Where Dexter said that George has told him that Dunk survived Summerhall, and he said, we don't know if Egg survives yet.
This is why you clout children in the ear. This is why. Dexter needs a good... No, don't do that. But
No. No, he's a sweet angel, and if they didn't want him to say that, they shouldn't have told him. That's my thought.
True. Yeah, don't blame the kid. Thank you. That's right,
Yeah.
Estella. Don't blame the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I hate this. I hate it as far as like as a thing that leaked. It would have been interesting as a twist, but now people are going to have way too long to think about it. I don't think that Dunk can really be anywhere in the story because he's too freaking big. So like whatever it is that he did after escaping Summerhall, it's going to be like a Quiet Isle type of thing. I agree with Michael talks about Steph's video. He settled on, well, probably Tarth because his shield is left in Tarth. So that might be one of the last places he goes. And Tarth is an island. It's out of the way. So maybe they stick him in the garrison or just keep him around. I don't know. Like that's a place he might be able to hide out. He's not Cold Hands. He's not. I feel strongly about this for many reasons. One, Cold Hands speaks the Old Tongue and Cold Hands is a skin changer. Dunk doesn't speak the Old Tongue. Dunk is not a skin changer. Cold Hands is never described as tall, and he's in a bunch of chapters. He's in Sam's chapters. He's in Brand's chapters. He's never described as tall. Dunk is 7 feet tall. That would be very lame of George to be like, oh yeah, that guy was 7 feet tall, but I just didn't put it in there. Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
Now,
Thank you for addressing that, because there are so many people in my comments telling me that he's Cold Hands, and I have not gotten around to compiling all the reasons as to why. And there we go. Thank you.
That's what I got off the top of my head. Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say if George wants to make it that Dunk survives and goes to the Night's Watch, okay, that's one thing. Like, because Dunk does think about that, that they always as something he could do. Like maybe he'll go to the Night's Watch when he's thinking about who his father was. Maybe my dad was a robber knight. Maybe if I go up to the wall, I'll find a 7-foot black brother. And yeah, if old man Dunk goes to the wall and as his final act, penance for not being able to save my king, not being able to save him from himself, and that becomes like his at the end of his story is taking the black is his last act of penance in his final years. That I would accept. That's the bittersweet ending that George would go for him.
Well, so Dunk is like 19 in the Hedge Knight, which means he's actually like 70 at the time of Summerhall. Rohan Weber disappeared like 25 years earlier. So doesn't really make sense to connect that to Rohan Weber. I don't think she's living in a cottage secretly for 25 years waiting for Dunk. That doesn't make sense. I do think that Rohan Weber may have run off with Dunk and that they might have played man and wife in a cottage in the woods, like Tyrion and Taisha. Yeah, something like that. I do think Dunk is going to be involved in the Rohan Weber thing, but that is like 25 years before Summerhall, so that wouldn't be connected to that, I don't think. Yeah. So,
and I know Chad's saying like Dunk would be 70, but you got to remember Bloodraven at 72 goes off on his great ranging as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. So the Night's Watch isn't going to say no to you just because of your age. They're going to take anyone.
The thing is that if Dunk had joined the Night's Watch, and Estella, I'll give this to you, there would be record of it. He's too tall to just change his name and show up there. Like, everyone's going to know who he is. He's famous by that point. He's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on some people thinking that maybe Egg has misinterpreted a little bit? Sorry, Dexter has misinterpreted a little bit, and that really maybe George was telling him that, Dunk saves Rayella, but then maybe obviously Dunk goes back in to save more people and eventually does die in the tragedy. I've seen some people saying maybe it's that, or do you think that with what Dexter said, do you think Dunk fully survives?
I think that's possible, and thank you for opening up some gray area. Peter is sort of trying to be like, well, we're not sure exactly what he meant by that. I do think that's possible. I don't think Dunk surviving is like a huge important thing. It's just going to be the end of his story. It's going to have some sort of poetic rhyme to his childhood or something. You know what I mean? It's going to have some little sweet note at the end of it. It's not a giant plot twist. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a mistake and he actually does die. The interesting thing about Summerhall is that the ghost of Highheart was thought to have died there, and she didn't. So she escaped in a way that nobody else knew about. So if Dunk did the same thing, was that connected? Did he go back in? And how is it that everyone thinks he died, but he didn't? He would have had to, did he get buried and people assumed he was dead, and then he crawls out of the sand on the other side of the castle and no one saw? And then you have the question of, Why didn't he just show up back to King's Landing again to reassume his post? Why did he disappear and run away from society? So that's all very confusing. And the other thing is, if he went to Tarth afterward at the age of 70, and that's when he fathers a dunkling on Tarth, then he could actually be Brienne's grandfather. Like, there might only be 2 generations, because Brienne is born in like it's like 280, I think, something like that. So Dunk is sneaking off in 260. That's only like 20 years, maybe 20 and change before Brienne is born. So Dunk could be the father of Selwyn of Tarth, the Evenstar, somehow, if that's when he,
And so you brought up the sand, so I was going to touch on that as well. So are you firmly in the camp of Dunk's dream about the sand is kind of a premonition about sand at Summerhall being used to snuff out the wildfire?
Yes, because Sandor, the Sandor connection. Sandor is a Dunkling, and his name is Sandor, just like Hodor's name. That's what clued me onto it. It's like, oh, if Hodor's hold the door and he's a Dunkling, then Sandor has to be. And then I was like, oh, the wildfire. They always put sand and a trapdoor above it. So yeah, I picture him holding the trapdoor in the ceiling so people can escape. And that could make sense with, like, people thought he died, he was buried, but maybe there was a little pocket of air that he was somehow able to survive it. I don't know, something like that.
Then can we also touch briefly on the Cavill thing? Because I think people are running wildly with this.
The what thing?
The Cavill thing. So there was another little
Cavill.
interview clip. Yeah, there's another little interview clip with Peter and Dexter where they bring up that, Dunk is kind of like a less handsome, less badass, like Geralt of Rivia. And then Dexter kind of leans in and he says, can we tell them the thing about Henry Cavill? And Peter goes, no, we can't say that. And so people are now running wildly and saying, he's going to be Daemon Blackfire. And I'm like, guys, we need to wait on this. We need to wait. I just feel like it had to be brought up.
So this is starting to make me think that Dexter is just a smart alecky little kid and is just taking the opportunities to troll the audience. And that's why I don't
it's trolling. I think it's calculated trolling. I think because
I don't even put much weight into what he said about Dunk surviving, because at the same time, I'm looking at this cheeky little kid saying, you know what you're doing. You know that you are going to send hundreds of thousands of people who are deep in the sauce on this. You're going to send their heads reeling. And I see him as be like, I saw an opportunity and I took it.
Be funny if Dexter's like a very online teenager. He's on Reddit, like, debating this stuff, and he knows, yeah.
The amount of like Game of Thrones lore news accounts that I am now seeing report that Henry Cavill is going to be Daemon Blackfire, I'm like, guys, we need to slow down a little bit. I do think, I mean, it could have been as simple as like, hey, maybe he reached out and was like, I love the show or something. Like, it could have been something very small. It could have been a nothing thing. It could just be Dexter trolling. But I think people are getting real crazy with it.
Yeah, I don't have anything for that. As we've said many times, the characters that people want to cast Henry Cavill as are way too young. Henry Cavill's he's my age, and Aegon the Conqueror is like 23 or 25. So
it's like the people who
Thank
keep
you.
calling for Henry Cavill to be in a Game of Thrones show. It's also like the people who keep calling that Brandon Sanderson should finish the books. It's like, learn about a new writer and learn about a new actor. There's others out there. These are like the only 2 names you know, so that is why you are so hooked on them.
Well, so the one thing that we can say that's like well-intentioned about this is that Henry Cavill is famous for knowing the Witcher lore better than the writers of the show and for sticking up for it. So I think a lot of people have a lot of goodwill for him because of that. And so they're like, yeah, involve him in some series. He actually cares. So I dig that. The only reason we're rolling our eyes is because people keep photoshopping him as Aegon the Conqueror for all these years, and it's just like, no, Aegon's too young.
I've seen him as Oris Baratheon. I've seen him as Maegor. I've seen him as Aegon. I'm like, people just really want him somewhere in this. And now apparently Daemon Blackfire. So
Henry Cavill and Bill Skarsgård cannot do everything. They just can't.
I've got something for y'all. I've got something for y'all. Yeah. So this is sworn sword. Tim knows this. Estella, this is new for you. So this is my they should cast Henry Cavill as Brown Bennis.
This is wonderful. Thank you for showing me this. This has made my day.
Yeah, I made this myself. This is my I've also got I did a White Men Can't Jump one where I put Woody Harrelson on Uthor Underleaf because he's a fake, he's a ringer. So
And yes, no hate to Henry Cavill. He just can't be every person. He can't.
Yeah, no, exactly. Henry, he's great. He's great. And yeah, crushed walnuts with the chin. The guy's handsome, clearly. I've been completely ignoring our photos here. Sorry, we got a bunch of. I did like her with the helm. That was kind of cute, running around with the helm and the rags. Like it's quite the look.
Kind of Arya vibe.
Yeah, and we talked about this, the claustrophobic street fight. These gold cloaks, they are just. Daemon Targaryen would be disappointed. Like, oh, how you have fallen. And we start off with Baelor. Rest in peace. Bring your own helmet to the joust next time. Because this is the thing, is he wore his son's helmet. It was a little tight. Like, they even said, like, his son's not quite as big as me. But I'll wear, it fit well enough. So that tells you the armor is a little bit tight. It's not Baelor's normal armor. So I always took that to be, that's why maybe that blow did so much damage, is because his helmet didn't have enough room in there.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Oh, is that the, oh no, that's a different banner. Can't tell what that is.
I just wanted to say too, I like how Lionel's armor feels very similar to the first armor that we see Brienne in when she's in Renly's Kingsguard. It's very similar, which I just thought was kind of a nice through line of like Baratheon style armor or something.
Yeah, the Stormlanders influence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Yeah, I like is that a pauldron? The thing on the shoulder?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I got one. Not very good with the armor words.
I forget the words all the time. So.
Boy, the actor that played Sir Arlen, like, he must have been actually drinking. I don't know that you could play a drunk that well without actually drinking. Like, he was just so sauced.
Yeah. He's just method acting.
I think he would have had to. I didn't even see this MFer this episode. I guess he was there.
I know. He was there in the fog and the blood and the mud, I guess.
Low-key, some of the coolest armor. Love that. Love that.
Yeah, I saw a thing that was like, worst person you know has really good drip, unfortunately.
Yeah. How do you make an apple look menacing?
Yep. And in the books, of course, the helmet is the main thing that's different. It's got like the three dragons kind of sticking up, and Dunk knocks like two of them off, I think, while he's beating him up. So a little different, but like I said many times, I dig the torture dungeon armor that him and Maekar wear. Maekar's is similar. Where's Maekar?
I said like last time. I think their take on Aryan is going for a more Maegor vibe. That this is young wannabe Maegor. It's
basically like Kylo Ren, just idolizing Darth Vader. It's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, Aryan is pretty Kylo Ren in general. That tracks. And, of course, the great thing about Dunk's outfit is it is straight out of the graphic novel. It really does look like the graphic novel just jumped on screen. So that's very pleasing visually. He just had that one line. They just love throwing him in there. He's just, hopefully he gets some good screen time next week. He's the only one that can make me feel better about any of this.
And did you see how Daniel Ings, he talked about how he had originally auditioned for both, I believe, Theon and Oberyn?
I did see that, yeah.
I couldn't see Theon. I could see Oberyn.
It's funny that he auditioned for Oberyn when you can see that this version of Lionel and Oberyn would clearly be making out in like 10 minutes. Oh, pardon me. I was getting parched. All right. So let's see here. What other spoiler? We're in spoiler zone. So what else can we talk about that was spoilery?
Oh, I wanted to bring up, we kind of touched on it a little bit. So with Rafe being kind of a different character, I've seen the theories that like the rat, the hawk, and the pig are going to be Dunk's, three friends from Flea Bottom or whatever. That's kind of what's going on there. But it seems like with Rafe dying in this way and being a different character, that's not what's going to happen.
Who are you
Am I
talking about?
misunderstanding this theory?
The who,
So,
and the who? Man, bear, pig?
It's one of the rebellions that happens on Egg's watch as king. The rebellion of the rat, the pig, and the hawk.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've seen people theorizing that it's Dunk's three friends from Flea Bottom that are in these masks and they attack Alora and start this uprising as kind of a juxtaposition of like, Dunk has the honorable path, they go down, but maybe I am missing something because Rafe was already dead though, right? Isn't that, or did Dunk just think of Rafe?
Well, it seems like they just reused the name Rafe. It's not necessarily the same character, right?
No, but it makes me wonder if that's going to be a different thing then, if that kind of puts that theory to rest that it's not going to be Dunk's three friends from Flea Bottom or something.
No, because in this they made it sound like the other two, Pudding and Ferret, died in that fire that guy Cedric started when he came back looking for revenge. Made it sound like all of his friends are dead. And that's another reason why it's so important that Sir Arlen got Dunk out of there, because he's like the one of that gang to survive.
Yeah. I think if they come back for that, if they get to that in the show, it'll still have that effect because Dunk will, he'll see that. Be like, oh, that could have been me,
My tinfoil when it comes to the rat, the pig, and the hawk is that one of them is actually Magor, son of Arian. Because the Great Council, after Makar dies, that leads to Egg being king. Arian has a son, Magor, that he named Magor, but Magor's only 1 year old at that point. The rat, the pig, and the hawk happened 17 years later. So Magor, if he's alive, would be 18 at this point. And again, anyone who's unhappy with Egg, that's now going to go looking for princelings to hitch their wagon to, here's his nephew, his older brother's son, someone who he essentially jumped over in the line of succession. I've always thought, that maybe one of these rebellions under Egg's watch is actually going to be his nephew coming back.
That would be cool.
God, and if so, that sucks for Daenora. That sucks that I did a whole video on her, and it's like, her father's Rhaegal. Obviously, he dies. Aelor and Aelora die. She has to marry Aerion, who obviously sucks, and then he names their baby Magor, and then if it turns out her son then causes a crazy rebellion, I'm like, oh, this poor girl. Let her be. Yeah. Let her live.
Because I always think, like, after the Great Council that elects Egg, what happens to little baby Magor? It's like, Egg doesn't seem like the type who would have his nephews he doesn't seem like a Richard III figure, who would like have nephews killed out of fear that they might usurp him. I think he would allow his nephew to live and hope, but if that nephew grows up and then learns of his rights, like, hey, your dad was the older brother, so you actually should have been in line for king, that will put ideas in your head, and you become another Daemon Blackfire type if everyone's buttering you up and putting these ideas in your head that you got robbed. There's the seeds of rebellion.
It fits in with a lot of what they've done on House of the Dragon. We see Hugh and Ulf have these different views of being sort of like Targaryen bastards born on the wrong side of the sheets or whatever. And then we also have Aegon's kid who's just been left to the fighting pits. Like, how's he going to grow up? And it's implied there are more bastards from him. And Aegon the Unworthy, they make when they're talking about how he legitimized his noble bastards, they're like, well, but only the noble bastards, that's to say nothing of all the other ones that he just, serving women and whoever else. So this idea that all these Targaryen bastards that have been ignored by the family come back and cause problems, like it's kind of a recurring thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to clarify, so there's the rat, the pig, and the hawk that assault Alora Targaryen at a masquerade. This is just they're called this because these are the masks that they are wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then almost 2 decades later, there's another rebellion by the Rat, the Pig, and the Hawk. But because of how much time has passed, there's nothing to say that these guys that rise up in this rebellion are the same Rat, Pig, and Hawk, because they would be, if it's the same guys, then they are way, way, way old by the time of the actual rebellion.
That's Doran Martell level patience.
It seems more that the masks are the symbol than the actual men behind them.
Okay, that's a deep cut. That is a deep cut. I only know that there was 2 Vulture Kings. 2 different.
Yeah, but the Vulture King is another example of that. To someone taking up the title of a past villain, it's not the same person, but what matters is the name, the image. Someone has to be the next Batman, you know. Bruce Wayne dies, we need our Terry McGinnis.
Oh yeah, George does it all over the place. There's the pirate king on the Rhine. What's he called?
Yeah, there's numerous pirate kings because we got Recalio Rendoon sets himself as king of the Stepstones. That's after Damon was king of the Stepstones.
It's the Dread Pirate Roberts routine. That's what it is. It's the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Same thing with the Shrouded Lord. They always say it's just some Corsair, and now there's some who say, well, it might be what was Tyrion's favorite uncle's name? I'm blanking on the name. I know it starts with a G.
Jerian.
Jerian Lannister. Yeah, some say the Shrouded Lord might be Jerian Lannister.
Hasn't Arain Waters also named himself
he's setting
king of something at this point?
He's setting himself up as the new king of the Narrow Sea. He's trying to he's trying to inherit the title of Daemon and Recalio Rendoon and numerous others.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim is very much against the idea that Fagon is a bright flame. I don't know if I can even allow him to answer that because we will lose 10 minutes. But he's not a fan of that theory. And
Dave asked me about this, and I spent probably 30 minutes beating that theory into the ground.
And that was on the phone, not on a live stream. That was on a phone call. I was like, by the end of it, I was like, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry, Tim.
I didn't just double tap that theory. I decapitated it and crushed the head under my feet.
Oh, he bashed it with the shield.
Back up.
Yeah. I had to, let's see. But thank you for asking. I do appreciate that. I didn't really know what to think about that until Tim sort of went through it. It does seem unlikely. Tim's logic was ironclad. By that logic, isn't Aegon IV the unworthy, an interpretation of Garth Greenhand having sex with anything that moves, having kids and bastards everywhere? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's like the most corrupt version of that archetype.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's just like Robert Baratheon. He's also the most corrupt version of Henry VIII that we could have gotten.
Because according to the modern sort of pop culture understanding of the Green Man, or the Dionysius, is it's supposed to represent male virility, and the whole idea is if it's channeled towards something productive, it can be good, but if not, idle hands linger at the swords and spears, and they make violence. So it's sort of reductionist psychology or whatever. Obviously, every individual is different, but it has to do. It's just talking about aggression. For example, we have sports so people can not go to war, or so. I don't know. I don't even know if that works. I think it just makes people more aggressive. I don't know. But
Aegon wasn't a Blackfire. Why didn't Illyrio send? It's because he is a Blackfire that he didn't send Barristan to support him. That would be Barristan's the one who killed Maelys Blackfire. That would raise too many suspicions. I mean, I do think it would be poetic justice for Barristan to not pick up on it, and I do like the idea, of Barristan unknowingly aiding in the 6th Blackfire Rebellion after bringing down the 5th. But I think Illyrio's reasoning for not sending Barristan there was that Barristan might pick up, having personally fought Blackfires, that Barristan might pick up on what's really going on.
Yeah, because Tyrion sniffed it out too. So, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I was blanking on what. Oh, we were supposed to remind you of something too, Estelle. Now I'm blank. You wanted to come back to something that we had
Oh no,
mentioned
we already
earlier?
touched on it. I wanted to talk about the rat, the hawk, and the pig thing.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, what
I
I want
like
to
your
talk
thought about Magor, though. I like that thought.
what I want to talk about was the prophecy dagger, because there was someone when Arian pulled out and went through Dunk's hand with the dagger. I don't think that's the prophecy dagger. Now I was thinking,
No,
where
no.
is the prophecy dagger? If I had to guess, Bloodraven's in possession of the prophecy dagger at this point in time.
Yeah, no, 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 not the Arya prophecy dagger. No, Damon in House of the Dragon has a very specific looking dagger. It's called an eared dagger, and I think
Oh,
Corlys has one as well. It's just a specific type of medieval dagger, and I've seen
Okay.
people pointing out that I think Arion has one as well, and it's like, oh, is this a passed down prop kind of tie-in? Is just kind of what I was thinking of, not the cat's paw dagger.
oh, okay. Well, I still stick by what I said. If the prophecy dagger ever pops up, I think it's going to be in Bloodraven's hands.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Yeah.
My whole thing about that is because I don't really care about the book canon or whatever, or the show canon, is that
Mm-hmm.
I do think there is a version of the prophecy dagger in the books, meaning I think there is something written on black fire, or maybe Aegon's crown on the inside, property of Aegon Targaryen, something like that. Like the idea of inscribing messages into the steel is something he got from Elric, because the Elric
Yeah,
swords, Stormbringer and Mournblade, are rune swords. They have runes etched into the steel, and those runes light up, of course, when the magic is flowing and all
yeah.
that stuff.
So Chaz
What
pointed
about
out
on
that,
Aegon's armor from Old Valyria? Sorry, I'm trolling. I couldn't say it with a straight face.
and then someone's asking because Bloodraven has Dark Sister, is something inscribed on Dark Sister.
Well,
You
it
just
could be.
mentioned.
It could. The point is, it could be any Valyrian steel item. I'm just saying the general idea of Valyrian steel having Valyrian glyphs etched in that only come out at a certain time. It's partly from Tolkien,
Mhm.
and their swords that light up and stuff, are the runes on the map that only show in the moonlight. Like, this is fantasy trope stuff, but specifically Elric's swords are rune swords, and Elric's Stormbringer lights up with black fire. So it's inspired both Lightbringer and the sword Blackfire and the concept of Blackfire. It's all from Elric, so would not surprise me if there are runes somewhere inscribed on something. And the prince that was promised prophecy would be just
Yeah.
the sort of thing that you might inscribe. So I kind of like the prophecy dagger from the shows. I
Oh,
don't think that exists in the books, but maybe there'll be an equivalent. Yeah.
since Duncan Egg loves to make light of things, I think another great idea with the prophecy dagger for them to do would be to put it in the hands of Eris the First, because he's the one who's obsessed with prophecy, but he's just using it as a letter opener. Popping the
That would
seals
be
on the
wonderful,
magic
actually.
scrolls.
I would be here for that.
Well, and also
I love Ares and Rhaegal. I love those two characters so much, even though we know so little about them.
Well, so I picture, so Bloodraven and King Ares are having the serious discussions about prophecy and stuff, and Rhaegal's just like dropping into the room occasionally and saying sort of crazy things. But then Rhaegal and Ares are kind of like, oh, he's might be onto something. The crazy kid might have an idea there. So yeah, this is great. I hope
Yeah.
I hope we see this.
Rhaegal's just running around with the dagger, and Ares is like, "Give me my letter opener. What are you doing with that?" And it's
Right,
just,
and then yeah, Rhaegal's
just yeah,
Rhaegal's in the halls of the Red Keep, naked, going, "Look what I can do!"
yeah. My name's Rhaegal. It rhymes with bagel, and he's just running around and just naked, and
He's totally grabbing
he
the
just
scroll right off the
yeah,
table, be like, can't
yeah,
catch me
yeah,
if you
yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And Ares is just pondering the tome and not wanting to see his wife, and is just forgetting to eat. So
And in all seriousness, one of the most interesting lines that really stuck out to me after we learned about, George saying, oh yeah, Aegon had a prophecy about the White Walkers and maybe that's why he conquered Westeros, is in the second Duncan Egg novella, Egg is saying, yeah, the dragons are going to come back. King Ares saw it in a scroll and Daeron's dreamed of it. So like you get this feeling like if Egg is hearing the king and his older brother talk about their prophecies and dragon dreams and research, then it kind of sounds like it's a workshopped thing. Like all the Targaryens that are alive and care at that point are discussing this stuff, putting their heads together about it. We know Maester Aemon was consulting with Rhaegar and probably with Bloodraven before he got lost. And so Yeah, I really hope that they start to bring that in the next couple seasons, talking more about the prophecy and bringing in Bloodraven and sort of tying it back into that more Targaryen mystique. It does seem like that would be the way the series would go.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the fact too that Ares was trying to bring in maesters that were specifically trained in magic, so he didn't even just want regular maesters. He was like, no, they were very specifically trying to cook on this, is what it feels like. So I wouldn't be surprised if in these small council meetings they're like, number one is fixing our PR, number two is how do we get these dragons back, you know?
Well, and so this is okay to respond to the chat. This is if you watch my very long Summer Hall video, which a lot of people have been watching and finding the channel through actually, which is cool. What I sort of sketched out is that you can see the clues that Summer Hall was not about hatching dragons to enforce political reforms, but rather the normal thing that Targaryens are obsessed with, prophecy and the prince that was promised. And you can see the clues building up. Yeah, it's all in there. But yes, it does seem that he had more magical ideas in mind by the time of Summer Hall when he was 59.
And in the world of Ice and Fire, and he was Aegon the Third. So after the dance, Aegon the Third, even though he's the Dragons Bane and hates dragons, even he recognizes the power of dragons, and it's said that he sends for fire mages from Essos.
The nine mages, right?
Yeah, and that's George is speaking very, that's very broad because Essos is huge. We don't know specific, so we don't know are these guys like from the R'hllor's priests of Atlantis, or are they coming from even further east? But there is a setup that George has already made for bringing in mages from Ashai, and we know that Egg is sending for knowledge. Like he's trying to lend lease books from Ashai libraries, essentially, so he might bring actual shadow binders and stuff over. So yeah, there is potential for mages from as far flung as Ashai showing up in King's Landing.
Yeah, they just need to get a hold of Alyssa Farman and ask her. And if you missed it earlier, I am doing a Bloodraven video either this week or next week. Already been recorded. It's in the editing shop, and it is the life and times of Bloodraven before the wall. And I do go through the potential people that he may or may not have killed. So, yeah.
Oh, that'll be very fun. That's so many. There's so many options.
It really feels like George. Sorry, go ahead, Estella.
No, I was going to say that could be so many people that he was potentially killed.
I think that the intention, because we're in Dunk's sort of perspective when we're hearing all this stuff about Bloodraven, is that we're not supposed to be able to tell. Like, he may have killed some people. He probably is willing to, but did he really kill all those people? It's maybe, you should be afraid. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say how far it goes. It's a black box. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Very Elijah Wood. Maybe.
Why would why would Aegon the Third want dragons back? Because he's not stupid. Because even though he hated dragons, he'd still recognize the importance of them. It's just that the way I see Aegon the Third differing in this is that while when he's trying to hatch dragons, he wants to be there in the moment. Aegon the Third is probably more like his son, like his brother and his sons are convincing him. Aegon the Third is probably more of the, okay, fine, do it, but I don't want to be there when it happens. Whereas Egg is like, I want to be there in the moment and I want to see it when it happens.
So he'd be more, Aegon the Third is more like Viserys on House of the Dragon, where he appreciates the power, but he mostly is not comfortable with it. So, yeah.
Exactly.
What happened to Bloodraven's sister girlfriend? You mean Shiera Seastar, the beauty of the realm? Poets contested to outdo each other, and people killed themselves when they fell out of her favor, and we don't know. But check out Estella Graves' video about Shiera Seastar, which is kind of the definitive one. But yeah, no, we don't know. We don't know. We're not told.
Yeah, but asking the real questions. Is she Quaithe? Is Alyssa Farman Quaithe? Is everyone Quaithe? Maybe.
It's either Alyssa Farman or Shiera Seastar, or maybe a Shara Dane. I think I do lean towards Shiera Seastar because she is magical already, and Quaithe is so magical. For Alyssa Farman to become Quaithe, it's like somebody who wasn't into magic at all, only dating magic women, suddenly becomes a powerful sorceress. It's a little bit like, is she Cold Hands?
Yeah, is she Cold Hands?
We did do a Quay stream, and you leaned more on Shara Seastar, and I leaned more on Alyssa Farman. But yeah,
We can all agree, though, not Danny in the future, though, right? Right?
No.
no,
Not Danny in the
I
future.
I think I went. That was another time. I think I went off on time travel. My problems with time travel as a literary device.
Yeah, it's only going to be in Bran's plot, and it's going to be super duper limited, and probably only bad things will happen. That's going to be time
That's how
travel.
I feel as well.
The thing about Quaithe being Shara Seastar is like, well, I guess that's only if Mel is her daughter. That's a unrelated. That doesn't have to be. She could be Quaithe, but not Melisandre is her daughter. If Melisandre is her daughter, then you have to figure out why she sold her daughter into slavery, or if they were captured somehow, or something like that. So that's a whole different thing. I did talk about that in my Bloodraven video.
Yeah, it's because Shara Seastar being the one to guide Danny complements Bloodraven being the one to guide Bran and trying to guide Jon. It seems like Jon was the one he was really aiming for.
I'm saying that's what I like about the idea of it being Shira.
Girl Nuddles is bringing up Alice Rivers. Of course, Alice Rivers, like Shara Seastar, is someone that we just don't have the end of her story. We have no idea. Last we find her, she is pregnant with Aegon's child, or Aemon's child, and she is holding Harrenhal. And then no one else takes Harrenhal for like 17 years in the official history. It's just sort of sitting there. So her reign as Witch Queen of Harrenhal could go on for years and years. We don't know. And we have no idea.
I covered
and
this.
That's a great reminder. I need to eventually make this video. I tried making it when House of the Dragon was airing, but as each episode came out, there was just more and more evidence that supported how I felt that Alice Rivers is not Melisandre, even though that's a theory I see all the time. Mm-hmm. So that reminds me I need to eventually come back to that, because I think Alice Rivers very clearly is doing some woods witchy stuff, and I think it's very different from what Melisandre is doing.
I tend to agree with that. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, it was in my my History of House Lothston video. I tracked the timeline on who held Harrenhal and during what years, and there is like a 20-year gap between actually more than 20 years. It's like 24, 25 years between when the dance ends and when when Harrenhal is awarded to House Lothston. So there is potentially 2 decades that Alice Rivers could have held on to it. And that becomes a question. Did she hold it for that entire 20-year gap in the timeline? Is there a time where Harrenhal is vacant? We really don't know. But potentially she could have had that for 20 years.
Was she just pregnant with Aemon's kid, or did she actually have a little boy next to her the last time she was seen?
When they show, it's when Harling, blanket on it was something Graves, but he's a member of the King's Watch. When he shows up, she does produce a silver-haired child next to her.
Okay, so that kid is out there somewhere, potentially to be somebody, or to be somebody's ancestor. Is there a theory about that?
Someone should get on it, because that could be very interesting. Someone should get on it,
like the potential actual. I've mentioned. Actually, I did mention this in the past. So it's talked about that during the reign of Aegon III, that him and Viserys had to combat a number of pretenders that came forward claiming to be Daeron the Daring. And I was thinking, well, what if one of these pretenders that crops up in Aegon III's reign is this bastard child of Aemon One-Eye?
Yeah, I guess this is just a place where George hasn't filled in the details. He's put in a few things about this time period, and eventually when he does Blood and Fire or future Dunk and Egg stuff, he will get to fleshing this out, and then who knows? Yeah, so he's definitely left himself with both Shara Seastar and Alice Rivers, and honestly, Mad Danelle Lawston. Like, we don't really know much about her either. Like, she could have all kinds of other stuff to her story. And in Tim's Danelle Lawston video from 2 years ago, he talked about the idea that Bloodraven and Danelle Lawston had a child together, right? Which is Melisandre.
Because Danelle Lawston shows up to Whitewall. She's part of Bloodraven's host of Riverlords. So there is a relationship. They have a connection.
So and obviously they were, yeah.
And Sir Eustace in the Sword, he mentions if Manfred Lothston had remained loyal. So I pitched the theory that the Lothtons were just like the Veerwells at the second Blackfire Rebellion, that the Lothtons may have been sort of little birds for Bloodraven. That Manfred Lothston was play what was a double agent who was on the Blackfire side, but then was feeding information to Bloodraven until he finally turned cloak.
I like that. Because that's just such a random line about Manfred Lothston proving not. Yeah, it's like what is that supposed to connect to? Yeah. No, they did not use glass candles on the Game of Thrones show. I do think Aegon and Visenya at least were using them. Shiera could have been. The thing about glass candles is that we're given the impression they only are lit when the dragons are alive. So maybe if you're a powerful sorcerer, you can still light one. But yeah, I feel it's easier to speculate that people like Aegon and Visenya might have been secretly using candles on Dragonstone because they have dragons and they have a bunch of dragon glass on Dragonstone. So all that's needed is to stick one in a candle holder and shape it a little bit, I guess. So. But yeah, that's total tinfoil. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I hope we get more glass candles. Like with the Feast for Crows draft from the Cushing Library shows Martin doing a lot more with candles or exploring that idea. So I do think that will come back. We will get more glass candle action in the future.
Yeah, I just watched your Danny Dane video on this and thought it was very interesting, that kind of scrapped information. So hopefully more glass candles.
And then more Master Whisper. Yeah, so Manfred Lothston just dawned on me. Secretly in league with Bloodraven, he's not a little bird. He's Bloodraven's little bat when he was Master of Whispers.
That works too. Little bats work.
Little bats.
It sounds silly too, but sorry, I was gonna say it reminds me too of in Tolkien. There's, I'm gonna butcher the name, but it's Thorwingwithil, and she is a vampire bat servant of, I believe, Melkor. And so I feel like Danelle Lothston kind of fits into that vibe of this vampirous bat to Bloodraven in a way. So I think, maybe George is cooking with that a little bit.
He loves the Silmarillion. He really loves that deep cut stuff. Yeah. So yeah, the thing about the glass candle stuff and Dawn that I was keying in on is that, like, if Dawn is Lightbringer, it might have Nissa Nissa inside it anyway, because that's what we're told. We don't know. That could just be poetic, like, oh, all her strength and courage went into the sword. Like, it doesn't mean that it's a Stormbringer that drinks souls and stuff. But he's sort of telling us, Nissa Nissa's soul went into Lightbringer, and so maybe Dawn has people in it. And if Nissa Nissa was Amethyst Empress, then we have the Gemstone Empress in the sword. So it makes sense that Dany would hold it and maybe communicate to the Gemstone Emperors. And maybe they've been broadcasting from Dawn this whole time. Somebody in the comments of a different, no, it was that video, said, oh, is it Nissa Nissa inside the sword that chooses when someone can be Sword of the Morning? Is there, like, do the Danes actually, like, communicate with the spirit, or does she make the sword glow, or something like that? Like, send somebody a dream from inside the sword? Like, it depends on how high fantasy George wants to go when he fills out the Dane stuff. But it's there. I mean, it's there. It would make sense. Yeah.
I just find it funny.
Because it's like, instead of Lady of the Lake, it's Lady in the Sword, basically. I see that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot like that.
I just find it funny that whenever Estelle brought it up, it's like when you remember that Morgoth's name is actually Melkor. It's just like some
I think,
call me Night Shroud. Dude, your name is Melvin. What are you talking about?
Morgoth. Dude, you're Melkor. Quit trying to be hard. Oh, and the Star Silver thing. Yeah, good point, Morse Code Food. There are multiple drafts that reference something called Star Silver. It's the weird metal that the Maesters call Star Silver. Kind of sounds like this is Dawn Meteorite metal, because only the Danes have it. And it is mentioned alongside Valyrian Steel as a Maester's chain link that can be earned. So, again, like, Martin has been thinking about doing more with that. So I do think we'll eventually see that. He always recycles his ideas.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to pay another compliment to you still, because I watched your video that you put out. I think it was yesterday about the Woods Witch, the
Oh,
prophecy.
yeah, the fortune
Yeah,
teller.
the fortune teller. Thank you. I was blanking.
Yeah, I
I was
watched
like,
that too.
why can't I think of the words?
Thank you.
Fortune teller. But yeah, it was because it reminded me of something when the line about worms feasting on eggs ashes, and it's like, well, worms like earthworms wouldn't do it. But then I remembered George does love his wordplay, and I even did this on my own channel when I read House of the Worm. George mentions this in his Thousand World series, how House of the Worm was a big influence, how he will use wordplay with worm WORM and worm WYRM, and that brought me back to like what we were discussing before. Did those eggs hatch, and was it abomination? Was it like the maggot things that attacked Oakenfist's baby daughter? Was it like the the deformed dragons that appeared? Like, was it a not a dragon, not a wyvern, but something sort of in between that came out of the eggs? And it's like, yeah, because House of the Worm is a whole thing about the forest being infested and rotting, and the sun is blotted out, and it takes a great cleansing fire to bring it back. And what's at the center of the rot is this giant burial mound, and it's crawling with these gigantic white grave worms. And I was like, yeah, I think worms,
Yeah.
like some kind of weird worm, WYRM, is probably what hatched from those eggs. And those would be the things to eat ashes because of fireworms.
Could be for sure. I also, to me, I'm very firmly in the camp that, after reading Ira Parker's Reddit AMA, where he said he was reading the main series over and over again, I'm sure he was pondering over the Maggie the Frog prophecy. And she has that, like, uber disturbing line to Malara Heatherspoon about worms having her maidenhead. I'm sure he read that and was like,
Yeah.
that's creepy and gross. That's terrible. But that line cooks. We're going to put something like that in here.
Yeah.
And so it became worms eating ashes.
Yeah,
But I am here for all the fun different theories regarding her prophecy, because I've been seeing some really good ones. I also liked too, David, your thoughts on the richer than a Lannister stuff, being a reference to Rohan Weber. I feel like there's a lot of really cool stuff to glean from that little short scene with the fortune teller.
So I feel like that is a better explanation than the Kingsguard pages thing. I can see that, like, but to me that's a stretch to call pages in the book riches. But if you stole somebody's true love, quote unquote, sorry to erase Rohan's agency, I'm sure she wasn't stolen. But the point is, from Gerald Lannister's point of view, he's lost his most treasured possession, his wife, and Dunk has her. So that would really fit to me, yeah. So thanks, I appreciate that.
It's my preferred version of the theory, even though the other one I've been seeing parroted around quite a bit. I think that one cooks more, so.
Thank you.
My thing, the eggs hatch, but we're werewolves. We're worms.
But we're worms.
They hatched weirworms.
So
Like,
I mean, dragons are described as worms quite a bit, and my thought is, do you think Egg heard, she said worms, maybe she meant like actual worms, grave worms, but maybe he's thinking worms with a Y, and so maybe he's like, wait, so I do succeed though. This is terrifying, but maybe I do.
If the eggs hatch, it's either going to be like those things that attacked Oakenfist's daughter in the cradle, or they're going to be the worms with hands and faces that crawled out of Arya Targaryen. But either way, if those eggs hatched, it's some kind of abomination, and it's going to be straight up the hatchery from Alien.
That's
either they don't hatch at all, or they hatch and they're little freaky little monster creatures, is my thought.
Yeah, not wyvern, not dragon, but something in between.
So I was more against this when I saw people first saying it. On second thought, I think it could make sense, because it's like if we got almost everything right about the magic ceremony, but there wasn't a comet, some missing ingredient, and so it almost worked but didn't. That could make sense. I was against it at first because I'm just like, well, fireworms don't exist in Westeros. People always want to put fireworms. It's like Henry Cavill. It's just like, what if fireworms?
I don't think it's
I'm like, no, fireworms live in volcanoes in Valyria.
Yeah.
But we did see that a dragon egg hatched that deformed worm. Oakenfist's daughter attacked her and took a chunk out of her arm, and Oakenfist had to hack it with his sword. So yeah, it could have been something like that.
and it just becomes like a brief second where spectators see the monster on screen before the sand piles break and it's snuffed out, and it's just like horrible screaming. Just you can hear it's like horrible screaming, and then in an instant it's just snuffed out by the sand, and that brings us back to Dunk's dream of drowning in sand.
Although mostly I think that the eggs did not hatch. I think they exploded, and I think that is the story. I don't think there necessarily needs to be that, but it would be kind of interesting because it just like, oh, Egg was so close. Like he was so close. Almost did it. That would kind of be compelling. But no, I do agree. Glue Guns Roses. The fortune teller, her face and her tone changed very much. The thing she said to Dunk was a generic prophecy, and the thing she said to Egg, she felt she was touched by the spirit and said something. But that doesn't mean the writers aren't giving us a wink and a nod with Dunk's fake prophecy. We could still think about, oh, is it ironically true somehow?
Yeah.
But
my favorite, someone tinfoil in the comments was like, I think it's just the innkeeper, and she heard Daron saying some stuff when he was drunk and decided to scare Egg because he was being rowdy at her tavern. So,
I like the idea that the innkeeper moonlights as wasn't making enough money, and so she wanders around, puts on her costume, and I can't tell you a fortune. Like, I dig it.
Either way, like the idea of like 1,000 screams and they all get snuffed out in an instant, like that line goes hard, and we've already seen, and George has given us that with the Rains of Castamere. They talk about as the tunnels of Castamere were filling up with water, they could hear the people screaming underground, and then silence.
Tywin is such a monster. No, there was
someone
not a
Henry
comet at
Cavill
Summer
again.
Hall. Sorry, what?
No. I said someone bringing up Henry Cavill again. Henry Cavill as the worms with faces, snakes with hands. When? He just, you know.
They had a bunch of little Cavill faces, all the worms.
They all pop out with little human hands. Yeah, there was no comet. And also, do we think no blood sacrifice? Do we think he missed out on that part? Maybe he couldn't sacrifice a pregnant Rhaella? Maybe that was...
So I think that Egg was trying to sacrifice himself to hatch dragons for Rhaegar, whom he thought would be the prince that was promised. That is my preferred theory. It's just my hunch based on the evidence. I'm not locked into it, but that is what I think. I don't think he was trying to sacrifice a bunch of other people. I think he was trying to sacrifice himself. Maybe himself and one other person, but I think the whole point was that he thought Rhaegar was going to be the PTWP.
Yeah, I think that's...
I like that as well because it kind of preserves his character as well, because I really don't want to think that he would get to that point of sacrificing family members. It feels very out of line. We would have to go very different and very dark in the years to come with his character for that to happen.
I agree.
So I think also that's another reason why George scrapped the original... We've gone over this, Dave, the Tyrion's history lesson with the Fagon history lesson with Tyrion, where they're talking about the War of the Nine Penny Kings, that Maelys Blackfire was trying to hatch dragon eggs, and he sacrificed his own son. If we remember, so Egg fights in 2 Blackfire rebellions. The 4th happens under his watch, and then even the 5th, the Nine Penny Kings doesn't break out till after Egg's death, but the rumblings of it are happening. Like when they take Tyrosh and when they take the Stepstones, that's happening under Egg's watch. So if you mirror Egg sacrificing himself to hatch dragons as the source of King's blood versus Maelys sacrificing his son as, his cup of King's blood, then that puts a mirror back up to the Targaryens and the Blackfires, Egg, and these rebellions that he's had to deal with. He's sacrificing himself for the greater good versus someone else.
And just to give credit to Joe Magician, I think he was the first person that proposed that that Egg may have seen Dany in the pyre, seen the bald Targaryen, and thought that maybe that somehow was him, even though he wouldn't be bald by some... Maybe he lost his hair by Summerhall, but he could be remembering when he was a bald kid and thinking that this dream is having to do with him. And so that's where you get Egg walking into the fire, maybe either sacrificing himself or thinking that he would survive the fire. Either one could make sense. And somebody was saying Henry Cavill for Maelys' second head, but that's Tim. Tim's already got that locked down.
I was going to say I do like that because then that ties into the idea that a lot of people are seeing Dany and seeing her bald and thinking it's a little boy and that it's going to be someone's son and that it's subverted because it's a girl.
That could be
So.
clever. Yeah, it could be clever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah, I don't want to
So
believe that Egg killed a bunch of his family members intentionally. I'm still trying to get
No.
Bloodraven off his charges. So,
too many.
yeah, I talk all the stuff about the class war, and then I'm like, so we should sympathize with Rhaegar and Bloodraven.
Bloodraven gave 80s Black. He told 80s Blackfire he would have safe passage, and then he killed him. There's no denying that.
I have sympathy for people that are trying. It's not that I approve of everything that Rhaegar or Bloodraven did. Don't quote me on that. But they are both trying. Like they're trying to fulfill prophecy, and it's hard. It's really hard, you guys. My video editor's got a picture of young Rhaegar reading a book, and it's like, oh, so it says I should cheat on my wife. Every time I talk about Rhaegar, he hits me with that meme on the screen. Just like brutal. It was a throuple. An age-inappropriate throuple. Damn it, Rhaegar. Why are you so problematic? I can't defend you.
They're cool with it in Dorne, I swear. She doesn't have a problem.
No, and my real take on that is actually not Rhaegar-centric at all. Lyanna is the character I feel more strongly for. Rhaegar's kind of an empty vessel. Like, we'll have to see. Lyanna's the one that is interesting and compelling to me because she stands up to the bullies. And she doesn't give a F about if she's a girl and she's not supposed to be there and this and that. Like, she dresses up like a mystery knight and goes and teaches people respect. Like, how can you not like that? So, anyway. Lyanna is great. And I did like a 3-hour Lyanna stream. That was one of my favorite streams to do. Yes. No, I do not approve that message. Do not.
Dave approves of everything.
Yeah, I do not endorse. Do not endorse. I'm just saying prophecy is hard. That's all. All right. Okay, what else do we got? What do we think is going to happen next week? Estella, did you watch the thing for next week?
I have not watched the thing for next week, but I imagine it is going to kind of be what we have heard, which is wrapping up after the battle. I mean, we kind of know from the novella, but
Yeah.
we probably, I imagine, are going to get a little more flashback stuff like we already touched on, obviously, because we have to fill in some of those gaps. But other than that, I don't have any other thoughts. Do y'all?
I did watch the preview of the next episode. It does seem, it is gonna. I think everything's gonna be wrapped up pretty nicely, but they are gonna build on it. There's a point where Dunk says, "I think I'm done with princes." So there's got to be a moment, I guess, where Egg's gonna have to bring Dunk around because they do show that Maekar does have his talk with Dunk and says it's time for my boy to be a squire, but he will serve no one but you. And obviously, it must happen. Dunk must come around on that whole "I'm done with princess" thing. Otherwise, we would have gotten a second book. So I think we are going to have a really heartfelt moment of just Dunk and Egg like basically convincing Dunk, like, no, take me on. This is going to be good for both of us.
Well, that Maekar Dunk conversation is going to be really heavy now that we have these characters actually living and breathing. Like, just think about that. Maekar was trying to cross the field to kill Dunk so that Dunk couldn't kill his son. And then now they're going to sit down and talk it out. That's going to be heavy. That's going to be tense.
I think the fact that Dunk let Aerion live, that when Aerion yielded, that Dunk didn't... Because Dunk was fully there in the... Like, he could have just straight up killed Aerion, He had him dead to rights. And yet... he drug him over and let him speak because that's all Dunk cared. You yield it, fight's over, good enough for me. But
True.
he could have, but Aerion was going for the kill. Dunk didn't give into that baser instinct. So I think that might actually have Maekar look at Dunk in a better light of like, you could have killed him and you didn't, and I have to honor you for that.
I think that's good, and I think the other thing is that we did see that Maekar is a little bit pissed with Aerion. Even though he's backing him, he's kind of, don't speak to me of honor. He's like, shut the F up about honor, dude. So like he stood up for his kid, but he also is probably like, this better work out, bro. Like, because and now that it didn't, now that it's this big debacle and Arian is humiliated and stuff, it kind of does make sense that Maekar could move all the way to now, okay, fine, I'm going to punish Arian and acknowledge that Dunk is honorable. But it will be a journey for him.
Letting him live is actually the bigger punishment. When people talk about like fate's worse than death, it's like this is one of them. You're humiliated in front of everyone. It led to the death of it led to the, not only did you lose your own honor, your father lost his honor. He's now looked upon as a kinslayer. Your uncle's dead, and this is all because of you. This is all your fault. And you have to live with that.
Yeah, like I said, you really felt it. That same sense of Dunk feeling like, oh man, this is all my fault. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it really is Arian's fault. And of course, as we know, Arian comes back around in the future. He fights in the Third Blackfire Rebellion, and apparently I learned absolutely nothing because he's remembered for certain actions. And Hagon Blackfire will be killed after yielding his sword, and I'm very certain that Arian's the one who did it. It's the same sort of rule by fear strategy, yeah. I do think it was interesting that Arian and Bloodraven agreed on executing Bittersteel, whereas King Ares wanted to send him to the wall and did. The fact, I think George put that in there to make us like almost more scared of Bloodraven. Be like, no, Bloodraven and Arion Brightflame are on the same page. So that should maybe make you stop and take a second before you just agree with everything that Bloodraven does. So like, no, this is a brutal ruling philosophy that he is living by. So, yeah. No, my Bloodraven video is not all pro Bloodraven propaganda. You know, it's not. It's not.
And that actually was, going back to that phone conversation, that actually was one of the things I was like bringing up on putting down Bright Flame theory was Arian wanted to kill Bittersteel. Arian wanted to kill, like, why would Bright Flames and Blackfires be working together when Arian wanted to kill their biggest supporter when they had him?
Yeah, it really does feel like Arian learned no lessons of like, Maekar sends him away as a little bit of a punishment, but also a little bit of like, let's get you out of here and away from all of the eyes of everything that has happened, the scandal, and then he comes back and is like, I'm gonna name my baby Maegor, and I'm gonna do just a bunch of crazy stuff. Really learning no lessons.
I loved that on the last stream when we were like, kind of seems like he looks up to Maegor, and then someone was like, no, he names his kid Maegor. We're all like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah. And George said that it was a direct provocation to do that. Like he did it to be a shit stirrer, basically. So learning no lessons. Again, poor Denora.
Arian is like the third biggest Blackfire hater after Bloodraven and his father.
I was going to say, it reminds me of when Bronn goes and marries Lawless and then names the kid Tyrion.
Yeah, I can see that.
I thought of that too, Cuttlebones. Obviously, there is an Aryan, like a Hitler's idea of the Aryan nation, sort of implied in the Volarians, who are race supremacists and commit genocide and things. So it's probably not an accident that Aerion Targaryen is this Targaryen supremacist. It's also a reference to the Greek horse god. We've talked about that. But yes, it doesn't seem like an accident that he is a crazy supremacist. No, not at all. Not at all. And I always, when I point that out, sometimes I see people struggle with that analysis because they sort of see it in the framework of the show and like Targaryen hate and stuff like that. It's always important to realize the Targaryens are not the Valerians. The Targaryens did not enslave people and feed them to their minds on Dragonstone by the tens of thousands. They did not perform all the blood magic that the Valerians, like the Valerians were using blood magic and creating human-animal hybrids, blood magic to make Valerian steel. The Targaryens aren't doing any of that. So the Targaryens are a much more Westerosi royal house. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. When we look at the Valerian Empire as a whole, it's meant to be a monstrosity in the sense of like, this is what people do with unlimited power. Now, they did have high arts and culture and things like that, but George never fails to remind us of the price that all of that came at. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because when you look
And
at
with
Valyrian
Arian,
history, oh,
oh, go ahead.
go on. The Valyrian history, when George mentions like the 40 families, which always reminds me of the 5 families of the mafia, but which which I'm pretty sure is like going on my whole like Godfather connections. I'm pretty sure that's deliberate too. But the Targaryens are actually pretty low on the totem pole. They're like, the way it's like, they're presented as like number 38 out of 40. You know, like
Yeah.
their dragons were bred for war, so it's like you don't get the sense that the Targaryens were the ones who owned the mines, right? But they were definitely benefiting from a system, but they weren't necessarily directly feeding that system. Well, no,
Go
they
ahead,
weren't. They
Estella.
would be through warfare.
Oh, I was gonna say too, and with I brought this up I think last time on the stream with Aeron being such a Targaryen Valyrian purist, it is kind of interesting that he ends up marrying a cousin. You'd think he would want to marry a sister. And it kind of implies I wonder if his sisters were both very quickly like, we got to get married immediately because he's coming back to Westeros. I got to go marry this old Lord of Tarth really quick because I can't be around my crazy brother.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you've done a good job of highlighting that. Like, it's some of these Targaryen women, they get married. Like, yeah, they get married to some pretty nasty folks. And of
Yeah,
course,
but
Rhaella was made to marry Ares, the Mad King, because of the prophecy. So that's another example of George showing you, like, yeah, the prophecy led to Jon and Dany are going to be heroes, but like, look at what the prophecy has done to people trying to pursue it through the years. Like, some pretty awful stuff.
yeah, and so it kind of touches on, do we think that Dunk comes into the Tarth lineage earlier through that Targaryen sister, or later on through, maybe the child of said Targaryen? Because we were saying maybe he is the father of Selwyn Tarth. Is that what we were thinking?
So I'm saying if that's the first time he shows up to Tarth in after Summerhall,
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, and
Yeah.
that's when he has a kid, then he would
Mm-hmm.
only be a generation or two. But he could be going
Mm-hmm.
back to your point. He could be going back to a place he'd
Mm-hmm.
been before, had a
Yeah.
love. He knows maybe he's got a
Mm-hmm.
little kid there or something that he's going back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. We'll have to see. Because we don't know where any of the Dunklings come from. Like, he hasn't made any of the Dunklings in the story yet that we've seen. He hasn't gotten anybody pregnant. So, Gren, Aurochs, the Cleganes, we think the Hodor thing happens when he goes to Winterfell. Obviously, we saw that in a vision. But other than that, we don't know when Dunk made Dunklings. We just know that he did.
Yeah.
So,
And Dunk, he might have even made Dunklings that are now in the Golden Company, which would be another one of these ironic things, because we got Raleigh Duckfield is the big man protector to Fagon, and then there's Weber, who might have a connection to Rohan Weber. He's got the spider web tattoos.
is there any super duper tall person in the Golden Company?
Yeah, Raleigh Duckfield.
Oh, right.
Duckfield, Dunk. Yeah, Dunk.
Well, we've talked about the parallelism before. I never thought about him actually being a Dunk descendant, though. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's how it works with the other Dunklings.
Yeah, and he's the giant man protector to a fake egg, Fagon.
Yeah, the parallel is hard to miss, for sure.
Yeah, because we talk Varys's idea of creating the perfect king is egg. Varys the spider with his little birds is trying to hatch an egg.
Right. By giving Fagon the sort of common man treatment, yeah.
But
But
birds eat
it's
spider.
Dunk's idea of you're gonna live like a common person versus Varys's idea, so it's slightly different.
Oh, that was what I was thinking. So little birds eat spiders. So in the show, the death that Maester Pycelle had when he's shanked by all of Varys's little birds.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that's Varys's end. The little birds, all of whose tongues he's had ripped out. Varys might be killed. The spider being killed by his own little birds.
Well, that would be justice for sure.
Yeah.
I think the show's death for Pycelle might actually be rewritten George's endgame for Varys.
Well, that's how Pycelle died in the books. I mean, they crossbowed him
Yeah.
No,
first,
in the
but
books,
then the
in the
kids
book,
and in their hands the knives. Like, yeah.
Varys
The
kills him.
kids with the knives that come in and kill Kevin.
Oh, Kevin.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Kevin.
Varys, Pycelle's already dead when Varys
Yes.
is having his talk to whoever about why Fagon's going to make a good king.
He's made a
And his
blood and brains pond on the book. That's
yeah,
right.
I would
Yeah.
say his brains are also, speaking of characters who have their brains all over the table. So
Well, there you go, folks. Last call for questions. If there's anything we didn't cover, I think we hit most everything. Thanks, Girl Nuddles. Appreciate your input. And
Yeah.
oh, that was a good line. Yeah, he could vanquish Sir Duncan the Tall, but not Dunk of Flea Bottom.
that's
Yeah,
what it feels like,
I can
yeah.
see that criticism. There could have been more Dunk brawling in the flashback. There wasn't any, really. Yeah, that kind of makes... I feel that. But I liked the flashback. I didn't have a problem with it. I just could have done with more jousting myself.
Yeah, just stretch the episode out a little more. I know they got more footage.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does feel like they chopped some footage. Like, there's got to be some more Fossaway footage there somewhere in the vaults.
Mm-hmm.
He did jump on that guy eventually, yeah. I think Dunk not brawling was to show us he got that from Arlen. Well, in the books, it's implied that he got that from being a Feral Street kid. But
It was, pure flea bottom street fighting that he employs on Arian.
But we'll see. We'll probably get more flashback next week, so I don't know. It's okay if they do some different things, guys. It's all right. Yeah, I find the Arlen stuff to be compelling. I liked it. I thought all the actors were good. The flashback only sucks when like the child actor doesn't match, the adult actor, but I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've gotten a Dunk the Lunk, thick as a castle wall. Have we? Didn't he say something like self-effacing when he stumbled into the Baylor room and he's like, oh, Arlen used to say I'm thick as a castle wall? I think he said it there, right?
Yeah, and slow as an Aurochs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the line about a knight who remembered his vows. And I guess Ira Parker said he wanted to put that line in and he just forgot. Like, just fully calling out, like, that is completely my mistake. It was supposed to be there last episode.
I wanted to say too, and I touched on this in my fortune teller video. Ira Parker also said someone had asked in the Reddit AMA, is Egg just hallucinating that the fortune teller told him this, and Dunk hears a totally different thing? And Ira Parker said, "Interesting theory, not telling." I don't think that's the case. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that the fortune teller did say that, and Dunk heard it, and I think that it's not a sign of Egg having some, Targaryen madness hints.
Yeah, I just think they wanted to grab the interest of the casual viewer and imply that, like, there's more here. There's a whole story. These people have futures. I think that's mostly what it was.
And to me, too, I think it's also that, if we never get there, hey, book readers, hey, yeah, casual viewers, here's a little hint at what is to come or something, in case we never get to season whichever that is going to be. So...
Well, I will just remind people before we wrap up that, Estella, you are not just on YouTube. You're also on TikTok and Instagram, and you put out different content there that is on YouTube. So little shorter breakdowns and things. So if you're on TikTok or Instagram, follow at Estella Graves. And Tim and Estella's YouTube channels are linked below. Tim, are you working on a video this week, or are you doing Uncle stuff?
I'm actually doing research. So my next video, so if you've heard, in the animated show directions, Corliss's 9 Voyages they're getting Genndy Tortikovsky as the showrunner for Corliss's 9 Voyages, which, me being a huge Primal fan, I'm just like, yes, please. the sight, the sound direction of and Corliss going as far east. So I'm going to be looking into that. We're going to go treading back into the Gray Waste, looking at the Golden Empire. So I'm actually doing research on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms and a Lovecraft story that I actually never read before. Because Lovecraft ghost wrote a story for someone else, but there's an underground kingdom called Nakai. Corliss visits Nagai, which has the underground city in Nefer, and so I'm now reading The Mound, which is a Lovecraft novella that he ghost wrote for someone else, which is why I'm not familiar with it. But the more I read it, the more I'm finding like there's so much here. Subterranean lizard people and pale blue-eyed humanoids in the layers of the underground kingdom of Nakai. So I'm like, yeah, I got something cooking.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Subscribe to Grey Waste Tim, and whenever he cooks that up, it'll be there. And I really did think your last video was like really good, Tim. Like as YouTube content, I think you're really coming along. I laughed all the way through it, so loved that.
And every video I get a little better. I figure out more editing techniques.
You kind of have to get to know your own personality and like what works for you and stuff. It is sort of a weird thing, but yeah. The one thing we didn't mention, they dropped the moment where Baylor has them use the tourney lances instead of the steel lances. They're using the longer ones that are meant to break. They're sort of gambling that they'll be able to make contact first with the extra reach, but they'll be screwed if the war lance, makes it past and strikes them. They dropped that. I guess that was just too complicated, maybe, or
I don't know. I wanted to add too, as a last thing, over on TikTok, I made a video for Valentine's Day that was best and worst couples in Westeros. I'm going to put you both on the spot. Who are your best and worst couples, not just in Westeros, but in A Song of Ice and Fire?
Best couple, that's easy. Carl the Maid and Asha Greyjoy. That's my answer. Worst couple.
Okay.
Worst couple is Butterbumps and a Queen of Thorns, who still has blood flowing, and she gets hers from Butterbumps. No one knows about that. That's the worst couple.
Okay. Tim?
But in a harmless way, obviously, not in a like Ramsay and one of his, people that he killed or something like that.
I think this is a good one. Best couple, Bloodraven and Shiera Seastar. Worst couple, Bloodraven and Shiera Seastar.
Fair.
There we go.
Fair. Yeah, that's what I got to in the Bloodraven Estella. I'm sorry, the Bloodraven. You are Shiera Seastar. The Bloodraven Shiera question. I was like, if Shiera is Quaithe, then they're at opposite ends of the map and they're tutoring the two most magical characters. But do they know each other exists? It could be a good story either way. We don't know. They may or may not know. Because, like, Shiera, if she boogied out of Westeros, she wouldn't know that Bloodraven got lost in the Haunted Forest and became the Three-Eyed Crow. But if they're both on the astral plane, maybe they have found each other. So, yeah, I'm dying to know if they're working together or not. Yeah, Lysa and Peter were right there. That's definitely the worst couple. You're right. Lysa and Peter, that couple causes so much misery, and they actually are a couple. That's a great answer. Mm-hmm. What did you come to on your video, Estella?
Well, I just did, it wasn't like in any particular order, but it was just like best and worst rankings.
Okay.
I totally forgot about Ramsay and Jane because I think that's such an icky situation. It just went over my head as even an option.
You shouldn't call that a couple.
I don't even see that. That's what I was going to say. I was like, it's not a couple, it's a hostage situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think best and worst, I had messiest was Alyssa Farman and Rhaena, because what do you mean your situationship is going to end in the death of your husband, who is her brother, the death of all your friends through poisoning, the theft of dragon eggs, and then theories as to what happens to said situationships. So,
strong.
Just maybe messiest. Yeah.
That's strong. Yep. Jaime and Cersei, definitely a messy couple. Nettles and Girl Nettles says Nettles and Damon. Obviously, yeah. the one person that gentle Daemon Targaryen, Nettles the brave, she tamed the dragon and tamed the dragon. Yes, I do prefer that version of the Nettles story, but some people think that she's his daughter. So.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're getting that in House of the Dragon.
No. Clearly not.
No.
Crypt Girl says that's just your average lesbian relationship, to be honest. Alyssa Farman.
That's really what it felt like. I was like, George is his representation. Yeah.
They all ended a triple homicide. What are you talking about?
I definitely think that Rhaenyra's relationships are very interesting. There's, the show version, everything is more defined. In the book version, we don't know. But the her and Harwin thing, I mean, George has said her and Harwin's romance could fill an entire book. And even the Laenor Rhaenyra thing is interesting because of the way they're accommodating each other and the politics of it. So, yeah, I do find all that to be very interesting. Yeah, I think Peter and Lysa are the worst couple. Like that causes so much problems. And it's both of them. They are both twisted. You have a little more sympathy for Lysa, especially the first part of her life, but she gets to doing some pretty bad stuff pretty quick. So, yeah.
Yeah, I also said both best and worst would be Rhaegar and Lyanna because it's like the crux of the story and haunts the narrative. So best and worst because, just what it does for the story overall.
Yeah. Yep. And we've got Bael the Bard and Lady Stark, who doesn't even get a name. It's Old Nan and Hodor. Obviously, Sam and Gilly, good couple. Jon and Ygritte, if we're being serious, are a good couple.
I said Davos and Marya.
You got to give Davos points at least for going, you know what? I don't think I could stab my wife with the sword. Like, good answer, Davos. Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah. Him being like, I did cheat on my wife, but I do love her.
Yeah, Egg and Betha, they supposedly married for love, Girl Nettles, although you might question, did Bloodraven tap a little love potion into somebody's wine cup? I don't know. Could be a coincidence. Black Betha is going to be Bloodraven's niece. Bloodraven is 45 and Black Betha is 20 in the year that Betha and Egg marry. Or Betha is 19, rather. And Egg is 20. So Bloodraven's only 16 years older than Black Betha. That's going to be like his niece. So, yeah, maybe that's a coincidence,
Yeah, I said again, it's very interesting, Bloodraven, that it's your family bloodlines.
I mean, look, if he can kill family members to make the prince that was promised, he could definitely tap some love potion into the wine glass. That is not, and I'm not trying to undermine the love story. I am directly undermining it of Egg and Black Betha. I'm just saying.
It wouldn't be the first time that someone tried to slip Egg in a love potion, and we know that. So
exactly. So
yeah.
I mean, just a coincidence. The future king of Westeros married Bloodraven's niece, and then a whole bunch of people died until they became king and queen 13 years later. It's really a shame that the people.
And I'm sure the Brackens had no problem with any of it.
The Brackens don't even know what's going on. They're not even in this game. They're just farting when it's funny and then calling it a day. As long as they can rename the teats and put in a well-timed fart, they're happy. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you for the thank yous. You're quite welcome. We do love doing this. We will be back next week to decompress the decompression of the last episode. And there you go. Appreciate y'all coming out. We know you have choices out there, so we appreciate you coming to our stream. And like I said, subscribe to our channels. We make videos. You like videos. It's a good match. And thank you, Tim and Estella, and we'll see you next week.